What's good, ladies and gentlemen? It is yo boy Oma-sensei back with part 2 of What If the HYUUGA clan was massacred instead of the Uchiha clan. If you love part 1, drop a like down below. And while you are down there, subscribe to the page for the next part. With that, guys, enjoy. Aftermath 1. Making waves. Capabilities of the Sharingan. The Sharingan first activates when the user experiences a powerful burst of emotion. You don't have to kill your friends for this one, much as you'd love an excuse. The Sharingan requires a not insignificant constant chakra cost to have activated. It allows the user to see chakra at a basic level, such as discerning an individual's remaining chakra reserves, or the type of nature transformation in use. Like you can't tell what that fireball's made of or now. It offers the user significantly improved visual acuity in their field of view, allowing them to perceive minuscule details about what they see. This grants a significantly improved reaction time and ability to track movements and projectiles within line of sight, and many describe a slowed down perception of time. At the third stage of Sharingan development, this seems to outsiders like precognition. Making eye contact with the Sharingan makes it significantly easier to cast all Genjutsu upon the target, and certain Genjutsu are unique to Sharingan use. The user can perfectly remember and reproduce anything observed by the Sharingan. This allows them to copy handwriting and mannerisms, and perhaps more importantly any jutsu they witness. Note: effectiveness is limited if the user has not mastered the nature transformation of the jutsu they copy. Techniques that require a different bloodline limit cannot be copied, unless you start stealing their DNA like a dick. Danzo. The Sharingan has 3 stages of development, shown by 1 through 3 tomo. See diagram present in the eye. Development occurs through more powerful emotions or through continued practice, and represents an increase in the Dijutsu's power. Izanami and Izanagi can be used by the base Sharingan. What the hell are they? Niji, how the fuck did you even get in here? One of the tablets beneath the Uchiha compound. Notes scribbled by Itachi. Slowly, the third Hokage put down one of the most ridiculous mission reports he'd ever read. This is what happened, he clarified, hoping they would say was a joke. It's true, sir. Kakashi looked embarrassed. And why Hiruzen continued. Did you continue with the mission after an S-rank missing nin arrived? A rank? Come on, Kakashi. The Hokage's voice was dangerous. The Jonin sighed and began listing. We were closer to wave than leaf. Zabuza had expressed a desire to attack us for attacking us sake. All 3 genin were invested in completing the mission, and I thought they could handle it. Hiruzen stared him down. I see. Do you believe you made the right choice? I do, Kakashi replied evenly. Hiruzen let him sweat for another moment. Well then, who am I to argue with results? He smiled at the 3 genin. Congratulations on your first successful C-rank mission. Or, given what I have just read, A rank. I will ensure you are suitably compensated. A rank pay. Naruto's jaw dropped. Hell yeah. A few issues to clear up before I let you go. Hiruzen leaned back in his chair. Kakashi, what happened to Zabuza's sword? As I'm sure you know, it has historical value too hid and missed, and can likely be ransomed back for a significant amount. Kakashi coughed. Funny story. That turns out the Uchiha have invoked some old clan bylaw that gives a ninja the right to a disarmed opponent's weapon. Who knew? Really? The third rolled his eyes. How? Well, Sasuke was technically the one who disarmed Zabuza. Kakashi shrugged. He put it in a storage scroll, dropped it off with Itachi, and now the Uchiha clan is ignoring all related communiques. Mine, Sasuke explained. Indeed, the third acknowledged. It's not like we could have used that. Moving on. He turned to the 6th visible person in the room. Haku, was it? Yes, sir, said the boy, stood perfectly to attention slightly off from the room's other occupants. Your situation is certainly unusual, but I'm sure we will be able to accommodate it. Hiruzen told him, I warn you that you will be taken to T&I to ensure your honesty, but if you cooperate, you will not be unduly harmed. Whatever is necessary. Hokage-sama. Haku was unfazed. If I may ask, what is to happen to me afterwards? Unless I'm mistaken, that will be up to you. Hiruzen answered. Hakuin looked across to Naruto, who gave him an encouraging smile. Hiruzen blinked and hid the warm glow he felt. And now, the final matter. He drew their attention back to himself. Has Naruto explained what happened to him on the bridge? Naruto cringed as attention fell on him. They've been carefully avoiding bringing it up. Kakashi said dryly. Naruto, do you want them to know? The third asked kindly. Naruto nodded. Very well. I think a direct showing from the Kyuubi is sufficient for the law. I should know, I passed it. Naruto breathed out as his teammates looked at him. Right, then, guess I'll just. He cleared his throat. Guys, I'm the Nine-Tails Fox. Cool. Okay. Now I know how bad that sounds, but I promise I wait what? Naruto? Sasuke gave him a flat look. You're about as likely to destroy the Leaf Village as Itachi is to betray the Uchiha clan. The third Hokage coughed on his pipe. I've seen it affect you once and it's helped. Don't let it ruin any missions and we'll be fine. You're my teammate Naruto, Hinata added. I trust you. Naruto looked at them both in awe. Excellent. The Hokage beamed. None of you are allowed to tell anyone who doesn't know, on pain of death, except for Naruto himself. That goes for you too, Haku. Now, unless there's anything else, I believe you all have some much needed rest to get to. The three children filed out, bickering amongst each other. An Anbu appeared next to Haku and tapped him on the shoulder. They both left as well. With a twitch of his finger, the Hokage dismissed the other guard from his office. He and Kakashi both sagged. Excellent work, making them think it was their idea to continue. Hiruzen began. Did you have to genjutsu them? Kakashi chuckled. Hell no. They thought they had to convince me. He looked up. I don't like doing this. Me neither. The third agreed. But it has to be done. I'll admit, when I learned about Gatsu I was expecting more opponents like the Demon Brothers. Oh, only hiding a B mission as a C. Kakashi asked sarcastically. How generous of you. We can't afford generosity, I'm afraid, said the third. Psychologically, how have they been affected? By civilian standards, they all still need therapy, Kakashi acknowledged. But spending time as a team seems to be beneficial for all three. He leaned back. Sir, they almost died. Such is the life. Was it enough? Hiruzen shook his head sadly. They're ninja. Nothing's ever enough. Sasuke walked into his house, closing the door behind him. Itachi was there waiting and smiled. Hey little brother. Hey Itachi. Sasuke dumped his bag of supplies on the counter and flopped onto the sofa. Furuka, I missed this. Where's my sword? I hung Kubakirabucho up in your room. You did what? That's its name. That's what the sword's called. Sasuke shrugged, still lying down. That's dumb. I'ma call it Big Bloody Cleaver because it, like, absorbs blood, I think. God, Naruto must be rubbing off on me. We could get that engraved on it, actually. That would thoroughly embarrass Hidden Mist. Itachi moved over to perch on the edge of the sofa. Now talk to me. You ran up to me, put the sword in my hands, said mine, then ran off to the Hokage's office. What happened on your mission? E ranks don't usually involve running into the 7 shinobi swordsmen of the mist. 6 swordsmen, now, Sasuke replied proudly, and the Hokage bumped it up to A rank. Had you done any A ranks this early? So soon after graduating? No, Itachi admitted, but by the time I was your age, yes. Sorry, don't worry about it. Sasuke waved. Oh, and more importantly, he looked up and met Itachi's eyes. He activated his Sharingan. Itachi's own eyes widened. Fuck, he remarked. Yeah, replied Sasuke, grinning. Congratulations you. Itachi seemed genuinely impressed. How did you get that active? Naruto died, Sasuke remarked, and Itachi stiffened. Or at least, I thought he did. Took a senbon to the face. I see, Itachi replied. He focused on Sasuke's red iris. You've got the single tomo of a newly awakened Sharingan. With practice, or more traumatic events, you'll get 2, then 3 of those. If any strange pattern seems to appear, you let me know. Sasuke frowned as his brain remembered something. Like what appeared in yours. Itachi gave him a piercing look. What did you see? It was the evening after, well, after Shisui, Sasuke admitted, suddenly feeling very vulnerable laying on the sofa. You were arguing with the Uchiha police, and I saw your eye go all. Itachi frowned. He looked around, making sure they were alone in the room, then looked back to Sasuke. His eyes shifted into their Sharingan form, then shifted again, black pupil going red and tomo becoming curved black spikes. Even for someone used to red eyes, it was unsettling. What is that? Sasuke recoiled slightly from it. You've had nothing like this, Itachi confirmed. Sasuke nodded. His big brother sighed and his eyes went back to normal. It's possible you weren't close enough to Naruto, or only perceiving death doesn't count. Or it can't develop when your Sharingan hasn't fully matured yet, he mused. What is it? Sasuke was genuinely worried. Itachi shook his head. More trouble than it's worth. If you do see it, you tell me, before you bring it up to father or the rest of the clan, understand? No, but okay. Sasuke relented. I trust you. Itachi smiled. I don't deserve that, but thank you. By the way, how did Naruto survive a senbon to the head? He borrowed power from the Nine Tails, Sasuke said offhand. Itachi blinked. Yeah. You guys can stop keeping that awkwardly secret now. I've just realized how many times you all deliberately didn't mention it at dinner. Full of surprises this evening, aren't you? Itachi rolled his eyes. Anyway, You should be going to bed. Tomorrow, how about I teach you more about how to use that eye of yours? Kakashi'll be training me all day, Sasuke warned. Itachi chuckled. Oh, I'm sure I can convince him to spare you for a few hours. He had a dark look on his face. You scare me sometimes, bro. As it should be, Sasuke. As it should be. A few minutes earlier, Hinata gave Sasuke a respectful nod as she and Naruto saw him off into his compound, hiding the brewing anger that he still had a clan to return to. Hide it. Hide it. Don't let Naruto see it. She still had the blonde convinced her home was near his, so she was able to walk alongside him as they crossed the village to his apartment. Night had fallen and the streets were quiet, the air filled with Naruto's thoughtless chatter about anything and everything. It was nice. But Hinata knew she couldn't just let nice stand. She wasn't allowed to be happy. Things went wrong when she was happy. So, you're a Jinchuriki, she spoke up eventually, when there was a lull in Naruto's talking. That certainly explains a lot. Sure does, Naruto replied. It's nice to know there's a reason for everyone treating me like dirt. I mean, I just thought he trailed off, face creasing in discomfort. You thought you deserved it. Hinata finished for him. I mean Naruto. She interrupted him. She couldn't remember the last time she'd had the confidence to interrupt someone. When you were on the bridge, you substituted with Sasuke to get him out of the ice prison. Yeah. He scratched the back of his neck. That was pretty dumb of me. Can you believe I forgot I wasn't a shadow clone? No. Hinata responded. No, I don't. What do you, Naruto? She turned to face him, backing him towards a wall. No one who valued their own life would make that mistake. Especially not a ninja, especially not one as good with shadow clones as you. Naruto grinned weakly. Yeah, well, guess I'm just that dumb. Stop saying that, she shouted. Her hands were clenched at her sides. You keep saying that someday you're going to become Hokage, and I believe you. I do, but when it comes to right now, you don't value your own life at all, do you? Naruto's facade crumbled. Oh, come on, what's there to value? Naruto, I'm an orphan, he shouted back. And you know what that's like, but I don't have a clan to avenge a special superpower. I don't even have a purpose. So I had to just pick one and roll with it. All my life everyone's told me I'm worse than scum. I have one thing going for me, and that's that I have a demon sealed inside me that might, at any moment, kill everyone I know. So yes, of course I'll give myself up for my friends. There was a crack. Naruto winced and put a palm to the red handprint on his face. Hinata looked in shock at her own hand, which had gone a little red itself, before glaring back up at her teammate. Don't you dare imply that you don't deserve to live. You are brave and kind and strong and amazing. I'm not. He stared at the floor. You are. She moved closer. Look at me. Look at me. He met her eyes. Naruto, I've seen you around a lot, she admitted. Remember that one time you saved me from those bullies? Naruto shrugged. Ages ago, yeah. I watched you after that day, she told him. Not in a weird way, it totally had been. But I watched you going about your daily life. Everyone was always just so horrible to you, but you bore all of it with this big grin on your face. I remember admiring you so much. And then she choked up a bit, but persevered. And then I lost my family too. And I finally understood what you were going through. At least some of it. And I admired you even more, because I didn't understand. I didn't know how, despite everything, you could bring yourself to smile. She backed off a step. So if you're going to tell me that was all a lie, that's fine. It's fine. Does that mean every time you smiled around us it was fake too? No. He sounded indignant. Her heart fluttered a little. Then don't act like every time you've made us smile we were faking it as well. We don't want you to die for us. She poked a finger into his chest. Dying is easy, Naruto. Living is harder. And you've never backed down from a challenge before. He looked at her, and she nearly squealed. He was actually looking at her properly. I've made you smile, he asked. You've come close, she admitted. She attempted one then, but couldn't manage it. Don't stop trying now. The fire went out of her sails. She shifted her posture, crossing her arms in front of her and looking down, as she wondered what in God's name she'd just been doing. Naruto clapped his hands together, and the grin was back. Well then, challenge accepted. I will make you smile. Now you sound like Guy, she pointed out. He struck a pose. Yosh. The fires of my youth will burn brightly enough to bring joy to all who see them. If I fail, I will run to Suna and back on my hands. Her lips just might have twitched. Come on, Naruto. Let's get back home. We have training again tomorrow morning, remember? Oh damn, you're right. What's Guy gonna do when he learns we fought Zabuza? Running laps blindfolded probably. Hey, would that work on you? Not if I had my Byakugan active, no. But in a much less one-sided conversation, the two continued on home. Act 2. Angling for a promotion. Training montage number 2. The The sand blows in. Capabilities of the Byakugan. Ash offers complete 360 vision barring a small blind spot spreading out from the thoracic vertebrae, the back of the neck. Range varies depending on the strength of the caster. Skilled casters can focus the vision in a specific direction to increase the range. Dash sight can track high-speed targets and predict movements, though this is only due to the Dijutsu's field of view and visual acuity, not any extra ability. Ash sight allows user to see through objects, perceiving everything in the Byakugan's radius at once. Ash eyes can see chakra with incredible accuracy, can discern individuals' chakra networks and chakra points. See Gentle Fist. Dash the previous ability allows Byakugan to detect Genjutsu, though this does not grant complete immunity. See Unblockable Genjutsu. See through all transformation and disguise techniques. Dash a related ability of the HYUUGA is to expel chakra from all chakra points on the body intuitively, while most ninja can only do so with intensive chakra control training. Hey, how many chakra points are in my dick? Usually 3. In yours, none. Ash certain techniques have been specialized to take advantage of the Byakugan's visual acuity. See Hidden Jutsu, HYUUGA Vault, Oiniji based Sharingan shits on Byakugan or Mao. Fuck off Itachi. Dash first page of the HYUUGA's official bloodline limit term, scribbles by Assorted. 20 days after the wave mission, Naruto was in a very awkward position. Both literally, his back hurt a little, he'd woken up funny, and figuratively, because he was stood outside the girls' community baths. Why do you even need a shower before going in the baths? Aren't they interchangeable? Naruto, you've never been in a clan meeting before, have you? Hinata's voice tentatively rose from beneath the wooden slats of the showers. No, I'm technically the head of an important ninja clan. When I go to meetings there are standards I have to meet, one being cleanliness. Can't you just use Genjutsu on the powerful ninja clans? Fair enough. Ever since their conversation after the wave mission, Hinata had grown more confident when it came to normal, non-ninja things. At least confident enough to talk to him without stuttering all the time. So why am I waiting out here? He asked, looking around self-consciously. A couple of the girls walking in gave him dirty looks, presumably just because he was the Nine Tails, but enough to unnerve him. I mean, you volunteered to carry my bags. Hinata's voice replied, of course. If you don't want to, it's fine, Dash. No, I'm fine with it, it's just, why me? Naruto called back reassuringly. I'm not exactly professional clan meat material, but you are the Nine Tails jailer. Hinata replied, I thought that it might lend me some credibility to have you carrying my things. Oh god, now I sound like I'm taking advantage of you. I didn't mean Dash. What? No. I think it's a great idea. Naruto enthused. I can't get the Kaimubi cloak on demand yet, but I can probably get the red eyes working. Do you want me to wear a collar to sell the effect? He heard Hinata choke from inside the shower. No, that would be a bit much. The water turned off. I hung up my towel outside, could you pass it to me please? This time Naruto choked. You want me to, aren't you? What? Came Hinata's voice. Hinata, he gulped. Are you wearing anything in there? Of course not, I'm in the shower, responded Hinata, nonplussed. Well, then I can't just open the door and give it to you, Naruto shouted. Why not? Naruto gaped at the door. Oh, right, no, that would be bad. Oh no, I've messed up again. I'm sorry, it's just Dash, of course. Sometimes, Hinata would act like nothing had changed since she was 8. Why would you ever think that was okay? I grew up in the HYUUGA compound. Byakugan everywhere, everyone can see everything at any time. There isn't really much point in modesty. Hold on. Does that mean when you look at me you can? I can what? Never mind. Naruto shuddered. He grabbed the towel and passed it over the door, and it was pulled out of his hands. Thank you. You're welcome. How long do you have to stay in the bath now? Well, my first dip is for 10 minutes. Then I sit in the steam room for 15. Then Dash, when exactly is this meeting? Naruto interrupted. 3 hours from now, actually. It's a long preparation process. Naruto palmed his forehead. Can I? Dash, yes. Sorry, please go do your thing. I'll meet you in 2 hours 40. Naruto rolled his eyes and walked off. If I become Hokage, I'll have to do important meetings all the time. Am I gonna have to take 3-hour baths? Between this and the paperwork Gramps keeps taking about, at what point do I actually get to do ninja stuff? He was halfway out of the baths area when he spotted the red form hunched in the bushes. Curious about someone who was so completely failing to hide in a village full of ninja, he investigated, tapping the form on the shoulder. He was not expecting it to screech and jump 5 feet in the air, turning to him with its hands in a comedically bad fighting stance. What are you doing? Naruto asked. Nothing, the man replied unconvincingly. He had shoulder-length gray hair and a leaf ninja headband and really impractical-looking sandals. What are you doing? Leaving, Naruto replied. Why is a guy in the girls' baths? Are you lost? Trust me, kid. The man had a large grin on his face. I'm exactly where I want to be. So you're a girl, Naruto replied. He didn't see any real reason for a man to be there. What? No, Whatever, Grandma. The man TCH''D. I'm not a woman, kid. I am the Toad Sage, Jiraiya of Asanin. Uh-huh. Naruto eyed him critically. Isn't Jiraiya meant to be some great hero? You look a bit too old and round. The man seemed to deflate. Ouch. Maybe I should follow Tsunede's example and get a permanent disguise jutsu. He moaned. Kid, who are you? Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto replied. Well. The old man leaned back on his haunches. Kushina's kid? Huh? And the Nine Tails? Yeah. Naruto added. Jiraiya frowned. You just say that to anyone. Well, the Hokage apparently made a rule that said nobody could tell anyone about me being a Jinchuriki that didn't already know. But since everybody hated me anyway, I figured it wasn't much good of a law, so I basically repealed it by, telling everyone I met. Infallible problem solving, Jiraiya remarked. Then Naruto's brain caught up with the older man's mouth. Wait, you knew my mother? Oh, now we're interested in the old granny. Huh? Jiraiya chuckled. Yeah, I knew your mother. Uzumaki Kushina will of Fire's human form. That woman, not to mention a massive personality. Well, what about weight? How do I know I can trust you? Naruto hedged. For all I know, you're just some guy with dumb sandals playing a prank on me. My sandals are not dumb. And I suppose you could ask the Hokage. He was my Jonin sensei back in the day. I'm on my way to meet him. I just stopped by here to do some research. Research? What would you be researching in the girls' baths? Someday, kid, someday. Jiraiya shook his head. Well, I'd best be off. And if you ever do decide I'm who I say I am, come find me. I may have some fun ninja skills to teach you. Know any ninjutsu? Naruto asked. Not many. That your specialty? Yeah. Naruto sighed. Kakashi doesn't know many either. I have these massive chakra reserves, but I can't do anything with them. All I've really got is shadow clones. Jiraiya hummed. I can work with that. See you later, squirt. He bit his finger and palmed the floor. With a poof of air, a large toad appeared under him, and, seemingly unencumbered by his weight, began bounding off into the middle distance. Oh, said a suddenly alone Naruto. 28 days after Wave Mission, Hinata shifted her stance, eyes wide open with Byakugan lit up. 8 trigrams, 64 palms. She moved. 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, each step an identical speed to the one before it. At least in theory. Being able to immobilize a target with 64 unblocked attacks wasn't impressive. Launching all of those attacks in under 6 seconds was. She finished the 64th palm strike with a crack and staggered backwards, panting from her afternoon's exertions. The impressive ceiling jutsu carved on the dummy meant that when Hinata poured some chakra into it, it took on a rough approximation of a person's chakra pathways. Her attacks had all landed in the right places, but not as accurately as she would have liked. Room for improvement as always. Hinata put her hands together in front of her and called out Activate Restraints, Level 2. Feeling the training seal reapply its restrictions on her movements and turned away from the dummy. A session of training that left her too exhausted to think was a good thing, especially with her current goal in mind. She walked through the empty HYUUGA compound. The bustle of the village was almost inaudible this far in, and her Byakugan's range could only spread so far, so she was alone with her footsteps and the creak of the floorboards. She left the dojo, passing through the gardens, and entered the main branch's home building. There, she walked through the hallway, up the stairs, and stopped in front of a certain door. She willed herself to move, but couldn't. She grit her teeth. It was always like this. It had been months since she'd first been able to walk past the door. A full year before she had first been back inside. Mustering the necessary will was hard, but she had a purpose. Taking in a breath, she put her hand on the doorknob, willed her fingers to stop shaking, and turned. The door to her parents' room opened. She walked quickly, not looking at the bed, Byakugan off, keeping her eyes focused on the bookshelf along one wall. She scanned the volumes quickly. Most important books were kept in the HYUUGA library, and some in a well-locked vault she couldn't get into yet. So most of the titles she saw were of novels her parents had been reading, or anything they had been researching at the time. One particular scroll, however, was considered too sacred to be stored outside the clan head's immediate presence. She found what she was looking for and reached up to it. This would be her first time moving anything from the room. She could almost feel eyes on her back from the bed, watching her, and without looking back she grabbed the scroll and ran out the room, slamming the door behind her. Only then did she activate her Byakugan and confirm that she was alone in the compound. She took the scroll into her own room and shut the curtains, ensuring a dark environment. She pulled the stopper out of the scroll. This was something she needed, something that was expected of her as the clan's heir, and more importantly, it was something she knew Neji had never learned. Hinata rolled out the summoning contract on her bedroom floor and put a kunai to her finger. 34 days after Wave Mission, Sasuke flew. Encased in giant purple armor, he rose hundreds of meters above the landscape and looked down to see Itachi rising to meet him. He thrust his hands towards his older brother and an arsenal of glowing knives and swords flung themselves towards the rising Uchiha. Itachi dodged, darting between the weapons easily and at one point running up the length of one's blade to gain height. Great balls of flame surrounded him as he rose above Sasuke, then called Ultimate Nova Explosion, and sent a ball of flame at Sasuke big enough to outshine the sun. Sasuke moved his hands and drew water from a nearby lake, draining the basin to create a liquid barrier between him and the fireball. The jutsu clashed with a deafening boom. The attack didn't hit him, but his shield was vaporized anyway. So Sasuke moved to fling the boiling steam towards his older brother. Then Itachi appeared through the gas, a tornado of wind surrounding him that reminded Sasuke, briefly, of Hinata's rotation. Itachi blitzed past his sibling and put a palm on his armor, and with a wordless shout, a blast of power flung Sasuke back towards the earth. He slammed into the ground, creating a crater wider than a building, and immediately jumped to his feet. He made to jump out, but Itachi called out Terror Prison, and the ground around Sasuke shifted. He glared upwards with a howl of outrage as the earth buried him alive. He then woke up on the glade of a clearing with a start. "Oh, come on," he grumbled, climbing to his feet. Itachi was smiling at him from across the clearing. "Have fun. I don't get how deliberately hallucinating is going to help me put people unconscious," Sasuke replied, pouting. "Jinjutsu is all about subtlety, manipulating the chakra through an opponent's brain," Itachi explained. "The easiest place to start is with your own." "But how did you still win?" Itachi smiled. "In part because you believed I would. Did you notice how I was calling out bogus jutsu names? It granted my actions a bit more legitimacy. Your subconscious was more convinced it would work. Obviously, in a real Jinjutsu fight, you would be refusing to go along with the hallucination, and I would be trying to put you under something that you didn't notice or couldn't tell apart from reality. This was just to get you used to the feeling. Can't I just point my Sharingan at someone and make them punch themselves?" Suddenly Itachi was behind him, cuffing him on the back of the head. "Hey, never take the quick and easy route," the Jonin admonished. "Well, don't make things unnecessarily complicated on missions, but never avoid putting in effort when training. Sharingan eye contact is a shortcut. It makes it easier to connect with an opponent's mind and pour in more power more quickly. But it is not an instant win. I'm not letting you out there without a good grounding in the basics." "Got it," said Sasuke, suitably chastened. Then he winced. "Itachi, your shadow clone just killed mine again." "Good, make another one." Sasuke sighed and acquiesced. "Shouldn't we be doing physical training with my real body?" "You work with Guy," Itachi responded. "I'm not going to enforce more on top of that. Besides, being able to kill your student with impunity makes a lot of training easier." "Always an excuse." Sasuke smiled fondly. "So, do we go again?" 37 days after Wave Mission, Leaf was cooler than sand. The breeze felt good on his skin. The sun was less oppressive and the winds weren't as strong. It was chilly, in a refreshing way. The people were louder, more annoying, but he supposed that wouldn't be a problem if he killed all of them. Case in point, the small child that had just bumped into him. He looked down at the boy, who gulped. Hi Mr. Gaara," hissed Temari from next to him. "Don't worry, sister," Gaara replied, not breaking eye contact with the child. "I can kill him without letting anyone know. And there are witnesses," cautioned Kankuro. "Them too," Gaara replied casually. The sand floating around him twitched at the promise of bloodshed. Then the child's hood was yanked, and he was pulled behind the back of another, slightly older child. "Look, I don't know what your problem with Konohamaru is, but you'd better be, He paused because Gaara's gaze had snapped up to his face and was staring at him intensely. Two pairs of blue eyes met. Shukaku stirred behind his left temple. "Who are you?" Gaara asked. "Uzumaki Naruto," the blonde boy replied. "Nine Tails." "Who are Wo?" Naruto looked down to his stomach. "I'm Gaara. You're like me." Gaara tilted his head and looked at Naruto. He could feel the chakra of a tailed beast radiating from the boy. "Wait, you're a Jinchuriki too." Despite clearly being uncomfortable, Naruto brightened. "Awesome. We need to talk sometime. I have no idea what's normal or not for us. It'll be great to get to know you and share stories about, how our demons break out and kill people. That does happen a lot." Gaara agreed, slightly confused. He'd expected Naruto to immediately attack him, though I'm trying to control mine when in Leaf. "Orders." "No, I get it." Naruto nodded. "Why are you here? I haven't seen you three around before." "Chunin exams," said Temari, uncertainly. "Oh, cool. I didn't know those were happening, but I'm definitely going to compete." "Please do. It will be good to get to kill you," Gaara informed him, thinking it was an important thing to make clear. Sounds good, Naruto nodded. Then, realizing he and Gaara's team were standing off in the middle of the road. "Oh, am I in your way?" He shifted to the side. "Sorry, do your thing. Good luck with the exams." "Thank you," Gaara replied, smiling at him and walking past. His teammates hesitantly followed. "So, he's Konoha's Jinchuriki," Gaara mused. "He seems like a nice person." Temari paused as she walked past Naruto. "That's the best I've ever seen anyone handle Gaara. Like, ever. Are you really like him? You seem so sane." Naruto went PFFT. "Wait, really? Huh. Honestly, he seems like a pretty cool guy. I like him. His stomach rumbled and he gulped. Were your eyes always red? Temari asked him. Nope. Naruto grinned. Well, I'm going to go throw up. Nice to meet you. He walked off very quickly towards some trees. Temari shook her head and backed away slowly. So this is why Dad never let me leave sooner. She mumbled under her breath before jogging to catch up with her brothers. Chunin exams. The Chunin exams are held biannually, cycling through each of the 5 hidden villages as hosts, and act as a test to see if any genin from the hidden villages are ready to be promoted to Chunin. The specifics of the exams are left to the village hosting, but traditionally consist of 3 parts. The first tests the knowledge and psychological preparedness of the genin, usually through some form of written test, outright psychological warfare, or both. The second primarily functions to pit the genin against each other in a test of cunning and creativity, under the pretense of testing their survival training. The third is almost always a competitive tournament, none, any, or all of the genin who have made it this far may be promoted depending on their performance, no matter how many matches they actually win. The Chunin exams are incredibly difficult, despite well over 100 genin often being sent to compete. Usually only a tiny fraction of that will pass. If any more than 10 pass in one exam, the host village will be looked down on for having low standards. On the contrary, if too few or none of a hidden village's genin pass without good calls, then this can sour diplomatic relations between them and the host village. These issues are exacerbated by the fact that the hosting cage is the one ultimately responsible for deciding who from the finalists pass. For the competing genin, the rewards are substantial. Not only does the winner of the final tournament receive a significant cash prize, Chunin are given greater freedoms, and permitted to take on harder and more lucrative missions. And for the children of ninja clans, it is often necessary to reach Chunin rank before being considered a true adult, and doing so allows them access to certain clan hidden jutsu they had not previously had access to. The exam is high risk, high reward. However, in stages 2 and 3, it is entirely legal for the genin to kill each other. Hokage's Guide, page 483, written by Saratobi Hiruzen Naruto, led Team 7 up the staircase. This wasn't through any sort of leadership. He was just the most excited to be there. He paused on the 2nd floor, though, looking at the crowd of genin he saw there. Hey, guys, what are you all doing here? Ah, Chunin exams, Kiba growled back. Most of the Konoha kids had shrugged off their dislike of Naruto once he'd explained the village's problem with him. Kiba, however, as the one Naruto had pranked the most other than Sasuke, hadn't really gotten over his grudge. Makes sense your sensei wouldn't think you were ready. Naruto frowned. Oh no, we're attempting it, but I thought it was on the 3rd floor. This is the 3rd floor, said one of the genin, chuckling. Wait, what? Naruto blinked. He looked up to the sign, and it definitely said 3. Wait, no. Because he jogged over to the window and looked down. Yeah, we are definitely only 2 floors up. A few more of the genin walked over to the window and looked down. Hey, he's right. Why is the 2nd floor labeled the 3rd? It's a Genjutsu Dumbases. Sasuke called from the staircase, where he and Hinata had paused on their way up. He's right, the HYUUGA said, more quietly. Yeah, duh. Naruto exclaimed. I, of course, noticed that immediately. I totally realize about the Genjutsu, just like you. A certain pink-haired genin called to Sasuke. He noticed her, gulped, and sidled back behind Naruto. The girl's face fell. I told you something felt wrong. Sakura rounded on Kiba. But no, sign says floor 3 you said. Idiot. Well, maybe if you dash Team 8 devolved into scuffling as a sighing Shino moved to try and split apart his teammates. 2 of the genin gave each other significant glances, and put their hands together. With a poof, the Chunin exam proctors appeared. I am embarrassed that almost worked on so many of you, said one. Let this be a lesson, said the other. You don't always need acute senses to overcome Genjutsu. Sometimes you just need common sense. Get your asses upstairs. The 2 vanished. Fucking idiots. Sasuke shook his head trying not to laugh. How goes their progress? Asked the 3rd Hokage, lighting his pipe. They're coming on in leaps and bounds, Kakashi answered. Sasuke would have passed his Chunin exams if he'd taken them instead of his genin ones. His brother's been going through the basics of Genjutsu with him, and his grasp of tactics is what I'd expect of someone twice his years. Hinata's slowly branching out into summoning and lightning techniques, but that's only because she's mastered almost all her clan's hidden jutsu. Naruto lacks his teammate's skill, but in terms of physical strength and chakra he's, well, if you'll forgive the term, he's a monster. He can use the 4th level of the training seal for limited time. Isn't that like swimming through cement? Hiruzen asked, eyes wide. How strong is he? In terms of sheer muscle, stamina and speed, almost on the level of guys not son. I had to subtly open the first gate so he wouldn't beat me in an arm wrestle. Kakashi shrugged. People are calling me lazy for delegating so much of their training, but frankly the results speak for themselves. He squinted. You didn't tell me Jiraiya was back in town. I assume Naruto had told you. Oh, he did. Though he wanted to check that the fat old man who spied on girls' baths was really one of the legendary Sannin. On the subject of which, did he tell you about Dash? Dash's next volume will be released in a few weeks. The Hokage cackled. I've managed to get us both early copies. You're the best, boss. God of Shinobi, don't you ever forget it. They laughed together for a moment. And the Chunin exams. The third continued. You convinced them to compete. They're on their way to the written exam now. Did you have any trouble? Kakashi thought about it. Hey, sensei, Naruto called to him, walking to training one day. You didn't tell me the Chunin exams were coming up. Oh yeah, those. Kakashi replied. Wanna compete? Hell yeah. He turned to his other two students. You two as well, course. Absolutely. Well, that was quick. Kakashi assessed. I'm probably supposed to warn you that this will be very dangerous and result in lots of character development dash. Harder than dueling two Miss Jonin on top of a river. Sasuke checked. Probably not. Then let's do this. After employing my flawless negotiation tactics, they all quickly agreed. Kakashi summarized. And I have every confidence they'll pass. Let's hope. Hiruzen drew on his pipe. You're stressed? Kakashi noticed the tension in his hands. The third huffed. You and your eyes, Kakashi. Of course I'm stressed. He pulled the pipe out. Konoha has a reputation ever since Hashirama set up this whole system and sprinkled the tailed beasts like breadcrumbs for the other villagers. Then Tobirama. Then myself, we made it tradition to make the other villagers look bad, and now we're paying for it. If Minato was here, everything would be fine, but it's been 12 years, and nobody looms quite as large as he did. Who do I promote as my successor? Itachi can't negotiate to save his life. Jiraiya and Tsunade act like they'll light on fire if they walk into my tower. I am afraid for my village, Kakashi. You aren't dying yet. Kakashi tried for a chuckle. It came out hollow. Right. Not that I know of. Saratobi looked down. But my senses aren't as sharp as they used to be. You can't be implying that someone will try to dash. Sabaku no Gara is competing in the Chunin exams. Oh shit dash. Kakashi moved to stand, but Hiruzen darted a hand out and grabbed his. There is but one recourse, he said, eyes not those of a grandfather, but a battle-honed ninja. The next time the Chunin exams fall on Konoha is in 2.5 years. Team 7 will be 15, old enough to be Jonin, old enough to garner a reputation. Nobody will dare to move on us until then if, and only if, we use this opportunity to prove our strength. Sensei Dash Konoha has to win the exams. The third asserted. Fairly. Ideally, we need the finals to be 2 of your genin fighting each other. Because there's only 3 names with the potential to grow into this accursed hat. I believe one has already expressed an interest. They are children. Kakashi was surprised to find he was furious. They are ninja. The third replied. The hidden villagers grow restless. Danzo schemes behind my back. One of our most prominent ninja clans is dead, and the Akatsuki pulls strings in the shadows. I care about those children, Kakashi. But I care about my village more. Slowly, Kakashi unclenched his fists. This is why I didn't want a genin team, he muttered. I knew I'd get attached. That is why I made you take one. Hiruzen replied, his face softer. Over time I've learned that if ninja aren't attached to anything, all it takes is a strong enough wind to blow them away. Hinata was still in her seat as the rules were explained to the genin. 9 questions, 9 points. Get caught cheating, lose 2 points. If your point count is positive before the end of the exam, you pass. EL:(DER). 5 slip-ups and you're out. Too generous, in her mind? But this was only the first stage of the exams. You have 50 minutes before the secret 10th question is revealed. Please begin. Hinata leaned back in her chair, unconcerned. She didn't even need to form hand seals, just to activate her Byakugan, and wait for the answers to fall into her dash. Number 39, number 33, -2 points. What? Exclaimed her and 2 seats back, Sasuke. Blatantly obvious Dojutsu abuse counts as cheating, said Marino Abiki, the proctor, with a cruel grin. I'd get working, kids. 10 seconds in and you're already in debt. Hinata grit her teeth. Alright then, effort time. She opened the paper. Naruto was panicking. Written test. When the heck is a Chunin going to have to take one of these? Especially the maths. One question about the Arc of a Throne. Kunai was asking for calculations even when the obvious answer was just eyeball it. He wondered if that would get him partial credit. People around him were already scratching down answers, and both his teammates had already been caught out trying to cheat. How could they? That was just bad manners. Although, looking at some of these questions, It sure was tempting. Naruto gulped and started praying for some sort of help. Outside, Naruto's shadow clone continued practicing the jutsu Jiraiya had shown him. It was tricky, but it built upon the other non-elemental techniques he actually knew how to do, so he'd probably have it sorted by the time the Chunin exams actually called on him to fight. Screwing his nose up, he went through the seals again. Naruto. Oh, thank God. I was worried you'd been stupid and dispelled everything. The Naruto clone looked to his left. Sasuke. What are you doing here? Aren't you supposed to be in the exam? Sasuke rolled his eyes. I am in the exam, Dumbus. This is a shadow clone. Come on, let's move. I think I'll have to split myself into two again. Not that I don't trust you to do both parts of the mission, but, well, I don't. Hold on, slow down. Naruto clone held up a hand. What are we doing? Cheating, said Sasuke clone. Is that not why you're out here? What? No. Naruto clone was offended. I'm out here training while the real me does a test. You're cheating. That's against the rules. It's a ninja test. Sasuke clone admonished. You're supposed to cheat. It's at times like these I remember you never technically passed the Genin exam. Come on. I was listening at the door and we have three main objectives. Find out what the questions are, find out what the answers are, then find a way to tell Hinata, all without getting caught. She didn't leave any clones outside, which sucks because the ability to see through walls would be really useful right now. Konoha has a library, Naruto clone pointed out. We can probably get most of the answers from in there, which doesn't solve the problem of seeing the question sheets. Sasuke clone mused. If they discover we're the shadow clones of certain genin, they'll probably dock us points. Wait, we have to find some way of getting in there. Naruto clone asked. How? Sasuke, the guards are all Chunin. The head proctor is the head of T&I. Alright, think of it this way. Sasuke clone posed. This is a prank. You need to find a way to I don't know, read one of the people's diaries, which is on their desk in front of them. What do you do? That set Naruto clone thinking. After a few moments, he looked up with a grin. Hey Sasuke, you can use the transformation jutsu properly, right? To look like a real person and not just a knife. I can. Sasuke clone nodded. In which case I have an idea. Number 13. That's 5 failures. You're out. Ibiki watched one of his plants crumble and walk out the room. The first disqualification, technically, and the pressure showed on the students' faces. He loved his job. He put a stern look on his face and swept his gaze across the room, making anyone looking at him avert their eyes. Then his ears pricked. In the distance, he heard some oddly familiar guitar chords. Then there was an intake of breath from outside the classroom door. The door slammed open. Body once told me the world was gonna roll me. Hokage-sama. Came the surprised yells from almost every student in the room. The third Hokage, Saratobi Hiruzen, strode into the room with a manic look on his face. These genin do not possess correct writing materials. Hiruzen shouted. Morino Ibiki, where is your will of fire? Your career will be reviewed after this day. But first he put his hands together, multi-pencil jutsu. He then proceeded to inelegantly hurl a good 3 dozen 2B pencils all over the room, much to the annoyance of most of the examinees. One of the Chunin next to the door sighed, walking up and lightly tapping the third on the back. The disguise dispelled, leaving Kiba standing in his place. I can explain, Kiba said in a whiny tone. What? Said the real Kiba from his seat, looking thoroughly confused. The Chunin sighed and hit the standing Kiba harder, dispelling it. Subject 29, -2 points. What? But that wasn't me. I don't even know how to do that jutsu. As the Inyazuka boy threw his hissy fit, Sasuke slid the pencil, which he had grabbed out of the air as it went for his face, into a pocket on his jacket. A place where, if it had been hypothetically able to see, it would have had a great view of everything on his desk. Sasuke grinned. The game was on. The exam hall was in a very well hidden chaos. That Sasuke could see. There was razor wire spiderwebbing at least a third of the room. One of the proctors was definitely a puppet. Shino's bugs were competing with sand grains for airspace. And there was far too much condensation on the roof for a mist ninja not to be doing something. Time for him to contribute. The pencil in his breast pocket vibrated. There was only so much someone disguised as a static object could do, and Sasuke very deliberately wrinkled his nose. After a moment he leaned back, creasing his eyes up, and let out an almighty sneeze. A few of the proctors looked suspiciously at him, and he smiled at them apologetically. Nobody noticed that his pencil had vanished. Okay. Here come the memories, said Sasuke clone, scribbling on a piece of paper as fast as he could. 1. Kunai Arc Physics. 2. He devolved into muttering. Don't you have perfect memory? Naruto clone asked. When the Sharingan is on, sure, Sasuke mumbled. Less so when it's memories I got from a pencil there. He activated his Sharingan and scanned a paper. Okay. That's everything we need to know. Now we just need to worry about knowing it. He folded up the paper and put it in his pocket, looking up. The two were outside what was affectionately called the Lesser Library of Konoha after the Great Library of Konoha had been destroyed in the Kyuubi attack. Sasuke had reasoned that it should contain all the knowledge required for the exam, if not in their normal stock. Then, because the proctors had probably put it there in case the graduates were enterprising enough to escape the exam hall. Alright, we've got a bunch of maths questions, obscure history, chakra theory and, for some reason, the forging process of a kunai. Once we learn the facts and equations we can just dispel ourselves. And our real minds should learn the information. What about Hinata? Naruto asks. Sasuke smiled. Leave that to me. Actually, my plan should work on you as well, when you inevitably forget what we've learned. Come on. We have 35 minutes before question 10 drops. They were able to get into the library through a combination of Sasuke's big ancient clan threatening and Naruto's the HYUUGA's. Far less likely to destroy this place if I'm using it rationalization. A sufficiently terrified librarian told them that books on those subjects had recently been delivered. I told you so. And they were quickly directed to the appropriate location. After a combination of 10 Naruto clones, Sharingan perfect recall, and far more noise than was polite in a library, they were most of the way done inside of 10 minutes. That was when Lookout Naruto tapped Sasuke on the shoulder. So the theory that Hashirama passed over Madara for Tobirama, due to an illicit sibling relationship, was actually proposed by one Mr. Janato Watt. Sasuke looked up. We are the blonde genin pointed towards the library entrance. We may have a problem. Itachi Uchiha walked into the lesser Konoha library and smiled at the shaken-looking librarian. Good morning, he began. I'm looking for a few specific titles on the Warring States period. I was wondering if you could help me. Oh, Uchiha-sama, exclaimed the woman upon noticing. Yes, of course I can help. Is this related to your brother's research? My brother's? Itachi asked, feigning surprise. Yes, he and the, Uzumaki child came in just a few minutes ago. She quite blatantly swallowed the word fox and pointed to a stack of shelves halfway down the corridor. I see. Excuse me for a moment. Itachi nodded politely to her and quickly but calmly walked down to the correct aisle. A good 6 heads of hair, one black, most blonde, turned to face him. Oh, hey big brother. Sasuke waved absently, then went back to his book. What are you here for? Doing some research, Itachi replied. What about you? Doing some research. Sasuke smiled. That's not much like you, Itachi responded, leaning on one bookcase. And definitely not like Naruto here. We're looking for some information on who his parents were, Sasuke explained. You wouldn't happen to know who Janato Kusumaki was, would you? One of Jiraiya's older pen names, unless I'm mistaken, Itachi replied. And that lie was almost good enough for me to miss it. Sasuke, to his credit, only tilted his head in confusion. All 6 of the Narutos, however, did some combination of gulping and shifting on their feet. Not to mention the fact that you're both supposed to be in a written exam at the moment. Fuck. Sasuke growled. Quite. Itachi drawled. So what now? Well, Itachi pretended to think about it. I'm technically not a part of the examination system. Sasuke's face rose. But I am a Jonin of the Leaf, so I'm somewhat expected to stop these things. And if you couldn't even manage to infiltrate a friendly building without being caught, that's not exactly Chunin behavior. Oh, come on, Sasuke complained. Well, looks like you got us. One of the Narutos said, sighing dramatically. I guess we'll just dispel ourselves and you can dash. I know how shadow clones work, Naruto. Crap. So what are you going to do? Sasuke asked, defiantly. You can't stop us without dispelling us. And even if you go to the exam hall and tell them to drop 2 points from us, we'll still be in the positive. Oh. But you're wrong on the first point, Sasuke. Itachi wiggled a finger. I know plenty of techniques that let me seal away shadow clones without dispelling them. Even one that summons the Grim Reaper, if you're interested. He cracked his fingers. Do you think I can get all 7 of you before one of you dispels yourselves? Or, I suppose, I'll only have to really bother with Sasuke, as he's the one with the perfect memory. Sasuke seemed to deflate. Alright, great. We're doing this. Can I ask one last thing before you do God knows what to us? Go on. Itachi aloud. Apologize to the librarian for us, okay? Itachi had a feeling he would someday regret the invincible reputation he built up in front of his little brother, as the kunai that came flying towards him would have definitely murdered a regular civilian. It wasn't a great throw, leading him to believe it was Naruto who had made it. 2 kunai attached clumsily by razor wire coming in behind him with the intent to wrap around his torso. He could catch them, of course he could, but they didn't mean to hit him. They just wanted to keep his hands busy. The remaining clones had decided that the fastest way to dispel each other was to stab each other to death. Creative. Watching as if in slow motion, which he pretty much was. Ninja are fast. He used one hand to grab one of the kunai flying towards him, ducking the wire, so the second kunai went flying over his head, then used his other hand to individually pull the knives from the suicidal clone's hands. He then snapped the wire between his fingers, throwing one knife to hit the Naruto who was in the adjacent aisle. He had probably substituted with the books, clever, and letting the kunai on the other end of the wire fly. But first towards the furthest away Naruto in the group of 7, who was running through a familiar set of hand seals and transformation technique, very clever. The great fireball blew from Naruto, actually Sasuke's lips. Every other shadow clone there jumped backwards into the flames as Itachi, conceding defeat, stopped his Suicide prevention and started weaving a much rarer set of seals. Even as the fire flew out into the aisle, it was sucked into a rotating sphere above Itachi's hand. This was not before the set of clones jumped through the flames, however, cooking themselves into puffs of smoke. After another second, there was quiet. That was very well done, Itachi said aloud. They must have had, 3 or 4 seconds to prepare. He turned around. The librarian was staring at him with a slightly horrified look on her face. Not to mention Sasuke casting the great fireball jutsu with, a clone that had a quarter of his chakra. Less. Itachi continued gushing. I've got to ask him about this when we have dinner tonight. The librarian pointed mutely at his hand and the flaming sphere of death floating above it. Oh, right. I should probably take this somewhere it can explode harmlessly. Sasuke says sorry. He breezed past the woman out into the hallway. An owl flapped down from the corner of the room and landed on Hinata's desk. It prodded one of the options of a multi-choice on her paper, then fluttered back up to a nook near the ceiling. That isn't mine, Hinata said, deadpan, circling the option it had indicated. One of the proctors rolled his eyes, but didn't call her on it. Naruto and Sasuke, who had been dozing throughout the last 20 minutes, both suddenly jerked upright in their seats, exchanged glances, and started writing. Sasuke looked across to her, and their eyes met for a few seconds, before he went back to his test. Hinata shrugged, glad her teammates had finally come up with something, and turned back to her own paper. That was when she heard the voice. Hinata, it's me, don't react, don't dispel the genjutsu. She froze in place. Sasuke was still sat working diligently, but his voice was appearing in her head. I've placed you under an auditory genjutsu, his voice explained. Me and Naruto worked out the answers to just about all the questions. Did you get any yourself? Hinata tapped 3 times on the desk, paused, tapped 7 times, paused, tapped 6. You got questions 3, 6, and 7. She nodded minutely. Wow, okay. Well, here's what we got for most of the others. Team 7 filled in their answers in silence as the minutes ticked by. All right then, spoke up Ibiki, right as the clock hit 10:02. It is now time to reveal the final question. The espionage warfare across the room all stopped. Now, before I do so, I am going to offer everyone in this room a chance to forfeit. Doing so will still knock out your entire team, of course. What? Why would we do that? Ibiki grinned at them. Because once I give you this final question, failing to answer it correctly will mean instant failure. Your teammates will drop out too, of course. But more than that, you will be banned from ever taking the Chunin exams again. The room exploded into outrage. Hinata's knuckles went white on her table. Make your choice. Ibiki continued. If you drop out now, you'll be free to retake the exam in 6 months. Maybe then you'll face a nicer examiner. But if you're going to take the last question, be ready to put your future as a ninja on the line. The whole class felt the wave of killing intent he projected. There were a few moments of pressure. I'm out, said one of the genin Hinata was almost sure was a plant. Him and his sullen teammates walked dejectedly out the room. That opened the floodgates. 1, then 2, then 3 more teams dropped out, walking out the class with their heads held low. Hinata barely noticed them. She was a bit busy having an internal crisis. Naruto was going to stay put. She could see it. There was no doubt in his eyes. There never was, and she admired him so much for it. But it was going to ruin him. Sasuke had filled her in on their plan via genjutsu message, though was now strangely silent. They didn't have any more shadow clones on the outside. There was no way this new question could be answered by what they'd already learned. It would probably be some extra hard problem solving, or even worse, some philosophical question about what it meant to be a ninja. Will of fire or no? Naruto did not have the mindset to pass that sort of question. Sasuke wouldn't give up either. He had a clan behind him, an expectation to meet. His older brother was Itachi freaking Uchiha, biggest prodigy in his generation. It was up to her. Could she do it? Drop out? She didn't have a clan's expectations. Her clan was dead. Ranks and titles meant nothing to her. So why did she want to become a Chunin? To test herself against strong opponents, for one, but mostly to access higher difficulty missions. To get stronger. But was 6 months of B ranks much more useful than 6 months of knuckles down training? Would taking the question even matter if one of her teammates got her disqualified? No, she could drop out. The question was whether she should. Naruto would be upset, but he would forgive her. She hated manipulating him, but he would. And if he was banned from ever becoming Chunin, she knew it would crush him. Better a temporary pain and some patience than permanent consequence. Shaking, one of her hands began to raise. That was when Naruto jumped on top of his fucking table. "You must be out of your goddamn mind," he declared, sweeping his arm across the room to encompass all the proctors. "If you think that anyone in this room is going to give up because of a stupid threat like that." The class's eyes were on him now. Hinata's mouth fell open in shock. "We're ninja," Naruto continued. "We were prepared to face death in this exam. You think we're going to run away with our tails between our legs because of a ban from promotion? Not to mention the political ramifications." Sasuke spoke up. "You think the other hidden villagers are going to meekly accept when you tell them their genin can never be promoted? The Kazukiya's children are in this room. Good luck with that." Interesting theory. Ibiki smiled down at Sasuke, looking for all the world like he was watching the boy dig his own grave. "You willing to bet your future on it? And even if you do stop me from being promoted," Naruto continued, "who cares? I'll keep getting stronger. I'll become so strong the idea of me being a genin is a joke." And then he pointed his finger at Ibiki. "When I'm the first genin to become Hokage, I'm gonna fire you for being such a crappy exam proctor." "He means we're staying," added Hinata, her hands now very deliberately laid on her desk. "Do your worst, Proctor-sama." "Well, one team has more balls than sense." Ibiki chuckled, looking across the room. "Anyone else want to leave while they have the chance?" Nobody else did. Naruto's talk no jutsu had gotten through to them, it seemed, and they were all resolutely sat at their desks, eyes determined. "Very well." Ibiki shrugged. "I suppose now's the time to say that everybody still in this hall passes." "What? So what's the final question?" "The final question," Ibiki explained, "was seeing whether or not you were willing to risk continuing in the face of serious consequence. To many of you, death is an ethereal thing, not much of a motivating factor sat in an air-conditioned exam room. Expulsion is a much more tangible threat. If you're willing to put your careers on the line to do your duty, you're ready to be Chunin. Alternate passing methods include calling a bluff like the Uchiha did, infiltrating my office to find the plans for the exam, conveniently sat on my desk, or throwing a tantrum and successfully defeating me and all the other proctors. Sick of all this ninja fake-out bullshit," Sasuke mumbled to himself. "So, to all you who have succeeded," Ibiki continued, "you get to progress to the second round of the exams, which entails dash." At which point the window was smashed in. A head of purple hair and an uncomfortably tight mesh suit jumped through the aperture, landing in front of the class in a dramatic pose. "My sincerest apologies, kiddies," the woman said, "because passing has just caused you a hell of a lot more problems." She looked up with a wide, vaguely sadistic grin. "My name is Mitarashi Anko, proctor of the second stage. And if you thought Ibiki was sadistic, you ain't seen nothing yet." "What? It's only called the Forest of Death." 10 years earlier, those two little shits. A younger Marino Ibiki slammed a pair of exam papers onto the table and collapsed into his seat with a sigh. Nobody else in the staff room bothered to ask which two little shits he was referring to. "Am I to assume Niji and Itachi passed the written exam?" asked the third Hokage, smiling benignly. "Passed?" Ibiki growled. "They picked it apart." "Did you do the one where they were supposed to cheat?" asked one of the other proctors. "Oh yeah, but they," Ibiki swallowed. "Okay, so they didn't leave their seats for the entire exam." "I know they didn't. And no Dojutsu either. But then I collect in the papers at the end of the exam first of all." Both got all 9 questions correct. The HYUUGA wrote down on the back all the ways he'd caught the other participants cheating, the ones we didn't catch. And the Uchiha wrote down blackmail material on both me and every other proctor in the exam. There was a pause. Suddenly everyone in the room darted at once towards the 2 papers. Hiruzen flicked his finger from his own seat, and they went up in a burst of flame. "Gentlemen, please. Ibiki, do you have any particular comments moving on to the second portion of the exam?" "Handicap them," the head of T&I demanded. "Poison them, forget to give them a scroll. Send them in late. For the love of Kami, at least split them apart. Otherwise they might get bored, and then it's very possible nobody else will make it to the 3rd stage." Outside, in the streets, Itachi and Niji were walking home from the exam. So Itachi began. "Bear with me, but I think we were supposed to cheat." Present day the next morning, all the remaining genin had congregated outside the Forest of Death. Many had been slightly put off by the fact that the Forest of Death was actually its name, but Team 7 had eventually agreed that it was just ninja being melodramatic as usual. It would be deadly probably, but nothing to be overly concerned about. "Pack check," Sasuke called. "Weaker food rations, check." Both his teammates echoed him. "Medkit, check." "Sleeping bag, check." "Assorted murder tools, check." "Damn right, check." "Compass, check." Naruto shuffled through his bag. "Funny thing here, Hinata fished one out of her own bag. I brought extras just in case." "Thanks, Hinata. You'd make a great mom." She choked, putting a hand to her mouth and going red. "Yeah, were basically Naruto's parents. Civilian 12-year-olds can't be worse than him. Sasuke zipped his bag up and shouldered it. At least we've all got food. I'm almost surprised they didn't tell us not to eat or we'll throw up. Still not over that shit. Were you able to get any information on the forest from your family? Hinata asked, recovering. Tried. Sasuke huffed. But I couldn't get a word in edgeways. The night before he was amazing. Stop. And then he went apologized to the librarian for me in this action hero voice. Stop. And then one of the shadow clones they'd hidden through those kunai and dash. Stop. Sasuke buried his head in his hands. Itachi, you're embarrassing me. But you were so cool. Itachi gushed, casting the great fireball with a clone of a clone, under a transformation technique. I can manage about 8 from full to empty chakra. Sasuke admitted. See, this is the thing. I'm proud of you. No, you're mocking me. Dad, Sasuke did good, didn't he? By your age, the great fireball's chakra cost was negligible. Fugaku replied disinterestedly. He has a lot of progress to make. See, Sasuke exclaimed. Don't listen to him. Itachi replied, with a bit more ardor than a casual dismissal should have warranted. Sasuke has passed the first stage of the exams. Fugaku stated. That is all that matters. And he will pass the second and third with just as much success, if he is a true Uchiha. But we'll be proud of him no matter what, right? Said Mikoto, giving her husband a significant glance. Replied Fugaku, noncommittally. Of course we will. Itachi filled in, shooting his younger sibling a smile. Not that I doubt you, of course. Present-day family, I swear. Sasuke shook his head in despair. Yeah, family. Totally get you. Naruto grumbled. Truly, they cause me much trouble. Agreed Hinata. Okay? That was insensitive, Sasuke admitted before frowning. What exactly did you two do last night? Sat alone in my flat. Naruto replied. Sat alone in my house. Hinata answered. Sasuke gave them concerned glances. Wait, what do you normally do when I leave? Wait for you to get back. Naruto sighed. Okay, well, do you guys want a hug? Feeling prepared, fellow ninja, said an older genin with odd grey-blue hair, walking up to them with a smile. We're confident we will survive the forest. Hinata replied, voice polite but eyes wary. The forest, perhaps. But what about the other competitors? Said the newcomer. Name's Kabuto, and I can help you with the latter, if you'd like. You're offering info on the other competitors? Sasuke caught on. Kabuto nodded. I have data cards. One on each of the competing genin. If you like, I can show you a few. What's the price? Sasuke asked. Kabuto shrugged. No price. This is free info. That's incredibly suspicious. Sasuke deadpanned. Why would you give us correct information for free? We're in competition. Well, let's look at the info I have on you. Kabuto shuffled through his cards. You've done an A rank already, 2 of you have bloodline limits, and 1 of you doesn't even try to hide the fact that he's the Nine-Tails Fox. Quite frankly, you're a team I'd be glad to have some rapport with. You look older than most of the genin here, Hinata mentioned. How many times have you attempted the exam? 7. She rolled her eyes, which looked a little weird with her blank white orbs. Little fish swimming with the sharks, she declared. What? Naruto looked at her. He's bargaining for a favor, so we'll help him win, Sasuke explained. You two extort him as much as you want, no offense. But Uchiha Honor says I can't associate with him. He turned around as his teammates started quizzing Kabuto about his cards, and immediately jerked backwards as a face pressed towards his. Lee, he asked. Sasuke. Rock Lee shouted, despite being a matter of centimeters from Sasuke's face. I must defeat you. More than usual, Sasuke asked. Team 7's daily training with Team 9/Guy put Sasuke into frequent sparring with Lee. The bushy-browed genin treated every fight like a duel for the fate of the earth. Indeed, Lee nodded. I have encountered the most beautiful girl in the world. Really? Sasuke asked. Good for you. Some lady from one of the other hidden villages come to visit. No. Lee shook his head. Haruno Sakura. There was a pause. Sasuke tried not to snort. Sakura, he confirmed, with the pink hair and red dress. Her exactly, Lee confirmed. She is a divine vision of perfection. I mean, she's not bad. Sasuke shrugged. How does that relate to me? You have stolen her heart. Lee leaned back only to point a finger into Sasuke's face. She is infatuated with you. That is true. Sasuke agreed. If I am to claim her love for myself, Lee explained in his own way, I must defeat you in combat. Sasuke sighed. Lee, I don't think that's how it will dash. He stopped to think about it. You want to date Sakura? Yes. Which would logically get her to stop bothering me. That makes sense to me. Lee nodded. Lee. Sasuke put a hand on his shoulder. My friend, I wholeheartedly support your endeavor. You do? Lee's eyes went wider than usual. Sasuke nodded. Absolutely. I think you'd be perfect with her. In fact, tell her I said that. I will, Lee shouted. Thank you for your approval, friend Sasuke. But I must still defeat you and Hinata and Sai in the finals, as you are all my rivals. Depending on how sucky this next round is, there might not even be 3 rounds. Sasuke mused. but Lee had already gone. He sighed. Alright guinea pigs, I mean prospective Chunin. Anko's voice carried out over the clearing. Get separated into your teams, we're starting. Chunin helpers came around to each team, discreetly handing them all a scroll, which Naruto snatched and started examining. You will notice that your scroll is either inscribed with the symbol for heaven or the symbol for earth. Anko told the crowd. That's important. You see, in order to pass, you must reach the tower in the center of the Forest of Death with both a heaven and an earth scroll. And yes, that means you must get the correct one from your competitors. The teams started eyeing each other nervously. Without speaking, Naruto handed the scroll to Sasuke. You can see which scroll everyone has, right? Asked the Uchiha. Get me a pen and paper, replied the HYUUGA. An hour or two later, when all the teams had been arrayed around the circular woods, the call was given to open the floodgates, and more than 3 dozen genin launched into the Forest of Death. 20 minutes after that, a certain grass ninja had murdered both his teammates, spared a laugh for how unobservant they were, then began hunting. An hour and 10 minutes after that, the 3 Sand siblings had murdered a full team, taken their scroll, and beaten the exam in record-breaking time. 5 or so hours after that, Team 7 stopped to rest. Nobody. Naruto grumbled, helping to set up camp. Nobody to fight. We've been looking all day. Everyone from Konoha knows who we are and what we can do. Sasuke mused. And with Kabuto trading around people's information, even more will be clued in. It's possible people are avoiding us. We have enough of a reputation that people are scared of us. Naruto asked, a smile coming over his face. So that's like actual respect, right? False respect. Sasuke corrected. Us for our names, and you for your, tenant. Actual respect is for who you are, or for what you've done. You get that from Itachi. Yeah, well, I need to take a leak. Naruto walked off into the forest with a wave. Don't go taking out enemy teams without me, okay? Sure, we'll try. For a while there was quiet in the camp. Did you notice that? Sasuke piped up. How happy he looked at the slightest shred of respect. Hinata confirmed. Uh-huh. Sasuke sighed. Anyone with any manipulative intent could have him wrapped around their finger in a day. I won't let that happen, Hinata vowed. Sasuke looked at her sidelong. Out of curiosity, do you ever try to hide the fact that you're obsessed with him? She went red. Don't worry about it. Sasuke stretched. Shame. I'll just have to tell my parents marrying you isn't really an option. You what? That conversational time bomb was interrupted by Naruto's return. I'm back, guys. He waved. Did I miss anything? Not much. Sasuke stood and walked over to him. You got anything to report? While I was on the toilet. Sorry, nah. Naruto shrugged. Sasuke smiled at him. There was an odd glint in it. My bad. That wasn't what I meant. Let me rephrase. In a split second he had a hand grabbing Naruto by the lapels, a kunai held to his throat, and both Sharingan active. What are your teammates planning? He asked politely. Naruto gulped, and his transformation technique dispelled. The grass ninja that replaced him, who Sasuke only recognized by headband, didn't look any less terrified. I was meant to surprise attack you. Then they would jump down and finish you off. We were then gonna hunt down your other partner together. These will be a squad that don't know all about a visual jutsu then, Hinata casually remarked, getting to her own feet in no hurry. The other 2 are 100 meters out in the trees. Drop your new friend and follow me. Roger, Roger. Sasuke agreed. He looked back at his captive and grinned. Sleep. The Sharingan-assisted Genjutsu, point blank against an afraid target, met nearly zero resistance. He crumpled in Sasuke's hands. Naruto wandered back into the camp, and his 2 teammates hardly even looked up. Sorry that took a while, he apologized. I thought it was only a leak, but then it wasn't, and I needed to make a hole. And, well, you don't want to know. We really don't know. Sasuke shuddered. Naruto stopped when he reached the center, looking down. Ah, guys. Who are they? Sasuke glanced across at the 3 unconscious, tied-up forms on the clearing floor. Oh, them. Grass team. They attacked while you were out. Had another heaven scroll though, so we aren't out of the woods yet. Literally. And I would like to mention, we did think about how you would be sad if we didn't include you. Hinata hurried to add, but we only had a few seconds before they realized we'd taken out their first member, so I'm sorry. Sphene. Naruto waved it off, stomaching his disappointment. But as payment, I'm not taking middle watch, I'll do first or last. Last time I had to wake up in the middle of the night, then go back to sleep was on the wave mission, and the day after was horrible. Actually, Hinata raised a hand. We may not even have to do that. She straightened to a kneeling position and bit at her own finger, drawing blood. Ah, What? Naruto looked at her sudden self-harm with some concern. She pulled a scroll of some sort out of one of her pouches, smeared the drop of blood to it, and calmly stated, summoning jutsu. With a poof of smoke, there was suddenly a small animal in the clearing. Hello, mistress. The owl cooed, at a surprisingly high pitch. What do you need? Is that an animal summon? Sasuke leaned in, impressed. Yes, said the owl. I am Kudus of the Owl Clan. You are the mistress's teammates. It is a pleasure to meet you all. The way it emphasized the cooing Kudus, Naruto knew that name had to have been deliberate. It was about the same size as a regular owl, but was not a normal color. Its plumage was assorted shades of navy blue. Summoning technique. Naruto had never heard of it before. It lets you have a pet, not a pet. Hinata explained as Kudus looked offended at the thought. It lets you summon spirit creatures from whatever animal you have a summoning contract with. They may look real, but they're actually made entirely out of natural energy. The owls have been the signature family of the HYUUGA clan for generations. Something about the big eyes and 360 vision must have seemed like a resemblance. The Uchiha don't have anything like that, but Itachi does have a thing for crows. Sasuke added. He eyed the bird critically. She doesn't look much like a combat summon. Kudus replied indignantly. And no, my primary use is reconnaissance, patrolling and guarding. That's why you're here. Hinata addressed it directly. Kudus, can you watch over us while we sleep? If anyone comes, or the people who are tied up wake up, give out a really loud screech, okay? Absolutely, Kudus responded. He stretched out an impressive wingspan for his size, and with a few beats climbed into the air, finding a perch up in the trees above them. Regular owls can see and hear things hundreds of meters away, Hinata explained. Summoned ones are even better. We'll be safe without taking watch. That's awesome, Hinata, Naruto exclaimed with his usual zeal. You're the best. I'm almost tempted to join the HYUUGA clan just to get this summoning thing. The implications of that sent Hinata into another blushing and coughing fit. There are other animals, Naruto, Sasuke sighed. And as impressive as the technique is, couldn't Naruto just make a few shadow clones and have them take watch all night? Hinata blinked. Kudus cooed above them. Right, we should probably do that too. I love you guys, but sometimes I want to kill you both. Good night. Rolling his eyes, Sasuke crawled into his sleeping role. Everyone give IT up for Akatsuki's favorite fighting snake man. Days before, Hinata rolled the summoning contract out on her floor and put a kunai to her finger. She smeared blood across the scroll, then put both hands to the paper and channeled as much chakra as she could into it. Summoning jutsu. With a poof of smoke, a tawny owl almost as tall as her appeared on top of the contract. It was facing away, but its head made a full half turn to meet her eyes. And woo, it asked in an old voice. Ayahu, Hinata HYUUGA, she said, giving it a low bow. She knew full well that, with the amount of chakra she'd used to summon it, it might be able to do her serious bodily harm if she offended it. A HYUUGA, it didn't break eye contact. Well, I can see that much. But Yaoyu have not been officially sworn onto this contract, have Yaoyu? Little girls should not go playing with scrolls that are not theirs. It turned its head away. Wait, she cried. I'm sorry, Al-sama, but there isn't anybody to sign me in. Its head spun back around to her. There is no need for sirs and samas with me, young madam. Explain what you mean. Nobody can introduce me to the contract because there is nobody alive to do so, Hinata explained. My family, the HYUUGA, have all been killed. I see. It clicked its beak. It is as we feared. I apologize for my rudeness, Lady HYUUGA. If I may, I would like to take you somewhere. My superiors would like to know what Yaoyu know. Where are we going? She asked, wondering how to explain to her team if she went on a long trek. Yaoju will not have to leave this room, Miss Hinata. Reverse summoning one's summoner is usually only done once extreme trust has been placed in them, but on this occasion, an exception must be made. Hold onto my wings. Hesitantly, Hinata did as she was asked, burying her hands in the owl's plumage. It made a sound that might have been a cough. I need to be airborne to use jutsu. Excuse me. It flapped its wings once and put its claws together. Then there was light. Hinata went from the closed curtains of her room to blinding sunlight in a split second, and the surprise was enough to make her let go of the owl in shock. That was a mistake, as she was in the air at the time. She began plummeting. She screamed as her stomach went upwards into her throat and she fell, wind whipping at her clothes as her arms and legs pinwheeled. After a few seconds, her inner ninja took over, and she straightened out her limbs to maximize her surface area, putting on her Byakugan to better see where on Earth she was. Turns out the answer may not have been on Earth at all. She was so far above the ground she couldn't see it, which was bad, and even more confusingly, There were giant rocks floating in the air. She angled for a landing on one of the closer planetoids she could see, only to feel herself slow as the owl grabbed the back of her coat and brought her to a stop. "Are all HYUUGA so heavy?" it grumbled, flapping heavily. "Where are we?" Hinata shouted past the wind. "The Angel Mountains," it replied. "A place you'll never find again. Now stop struggling, or I'll lose my grip." Eventually it dropped her off on one of the floating rocks, before diving off the side and leaving her to take in her surroundings. Now that she was alone, Hinata could see dozens of birds flying around the mountains. The rocks themselves seemed like self-contained biomass. Some, like hers, were grassy. Some had lakes or waterfalls. Others were forested on all sides, with trees growing downwards to the ground far below. It was peaceful, beautiful, and she could feel something tickling her skin. It felt almost like the chakra signatures she could pick up from powerful ninja. But her Byakugan couldn't detect anything. Natural energy. A voice boomed from behind her. "It is invisible to your eyes. The greatest weakness of your clan is that you fear to blind yourselves, and thus there are many things you do not see." Hinata turned around and jumped out of her skin. Facing her were a pair of eyes, each almost as big as her. Their gaze pierced her, and it felt like it could see everything she was and ever had been. Its plumage was a shimmering navy blue, and the eyes, well, there was no other way to say it. They looked like Byakugan. "My Dojutsu can't see you," was all she could think to say. The giant owl leaned backwards. It was stood on a much larger rock at lower elevation. With a better look, it seemed oddly anthropomorphic, humanoid. A bow taller than the Hokage Tower was slung over its back, and a scar cut across its beak. "We are not flesh and blood, like you are," it explained. "We are made entirely of Senjutsu chakra and invisible to most Dojutsu. Our ability to spot each other sage creatures is, I believe, one of the main reasons the HYUUGA bonded with us." It inclined its head in what might have been a bow. "I am Athena, matriarch of the owls." Hinata went into a full kowtow. "Hinata HYUUGA, it is an honor." Athena replied. "You would be Hieshi's daughter then." "I never met the man. He rarely summoned my brood. But I have learned much of you from my brother." "Your brother?" Hinata asked. Athena pointed with one wing. In the distance, squinting with her regular eyes, Hinata could see another owl. That must have been at least as large as the one she was talking to. Its head turned to look at her, but quickly turned back away. "Icarus. He and his immediate family serve your half-brother, Niji. He spoke of you often." Hinata clenched her fists. She began stalking towards the distant figure on reflex, before Athena put a wing up in her way. "Peace. You would never reach him anyway. He flies faster than I can. Niji is branch family. He isn't supposed to have owl summons." She grit her teeth. "I suspect Niji does a great many things he is not supposed to do." Athena replied wryly. "Now please explain. What has befallen your family? Why have none? But your half-brother summoned us in 5 years." Hinata took in a deep breath to calm herself. Then she explained what Niji had done. It took a few minutes, and partway through Athena had turned to look at Icarus in the distance. "I see," she said when Hinata had finished. "And what do you intend to do? Kill him? That may be unwise." "How?" she asked, arms spread. "He killed my family. Do you know why?" Athena pressed. "What reason would there be? People always have a reason for their actions. If there is no reason, then it is madness. Then he must be mad," Hinata concluded. Athena shook her head. "My brother would not betray us all for a madman, but he will not explain why he follows Niji. When I pressed him, he gave me this." She brought a wing up to her scarred beak. "We owls are not perfect, but we do try to be wise. If Icarus comes to Niji's aid, it is because he agrees with what he did. Do you?" Hinata challenged. "As I said," Athena replied, "we are not perfect. Knowing what you know, I cannot discern what might make Niji's actions right. If I conclude they were wrong, then I will go and beat some sense into my brother. But not before I understand fully. So what do you want then?" Hinata tried not to sulk. "I will allow you to sign the summoning contract with my family," decided Athena, properly, "on the condition that, when you find Niji, you make him explain his reasons. If you believe after you understand his motive that he still deserves death, then make it so, but not before." Hinata thought about it. Athena had a point. She wanted justice as much as vengeance, and she could not make that ruling on false information. "I agree. Present day lookout. There's a spider. I see it. Don't worry, it's not a big deal. Got it, mistress." Kudus had decided to keep following them the next day, because apparently their adventure through the woods was way more interesting than flying around the mountains all day. They were hours into the new day, after leaving the grass ninja tied up in their old camp. but had yet to see anyone. That had not stopped Kudus. Naruto's shadow clones had to explain to him that he didn't have to wake up Team 7 every time he spotted a scorpion on a tree 100 meters away. Now they were awake. However, he saw no reason not to warn them about everything he noticed. "I spy a hostile genin," Hinata called out, bringing the four to a stop. Her Byakugan range was greater than Kudus's. "Woo baby, here we go." Naruto grinned. "Hidden grass. 300 meters ahead in closing." Hinata continued. "I can't see his teammates, so he might be alone or it might be a trap." "Is he heaven or earth?" Sasuke asked. "That team was Earth," Hinata replied victoriously. "Yes, let's sick him. We can get to the center days before the deadline at this rate." Naruto started stretching his arms in preparation. "Patience, Naruto," Sasuke cautioned. "God, I sound old. Any fight we get into that's fair is a fight where we're taking unnecessary risks. I vote we send a clone of you in alone first to make him think Snake," shouted Kudus. 100 meters, getting closer fast. Kudus. Naruto sighed. "Please, stop warning us about the natural wildlife. Wait." Hinata held a hand up. "Snake. I can't see a snake." "No, big snake." Kudus was actually panicking. "Very big snake." Soon Team 7 didn't need bat vision. They could hear the cracking sound of trunks snapping like matchsticks. "What the oh no?" Hinata blanched. "Sage creature. Move." The trio scattered as the trees in front of them parted, and an absolutely massive snake crashed into their position, opening wide its jaws and snapping up Kudus in one mouthful. "Sweet merciful Kami, what the fuck?" Sasuke landed nearby and flung a brace of kunai. They scattered off the monster's scales. "Did Kudus just die?" Naruto asked as the snake turned its eyes on him. "They desummon when they take too much damage. He'll be traumatized but fine," Hinata explained. The snake lunged at them again. They separated, jumping off in different directions. But it swung its tail and caught Naruto in midair, slamming him into a nearby tree which he magnetized to with his feet. Water walking training hadn't been for nothing, so all we need to do is damage it. "Enough to kill it, yes," she replied as Sasuke launched a fireball at the beast. "But that's a lot of damage. No genin should be able to summon anything this big." "If you're such an expert," Sasuke called to her, watching the snake shake off his fireball without much effort. "Then what do we do?" "Run," Hinata told them. "Definitely run." "Oh, I wouldn't do that," came a perfectly calm, silky smooth voice. "Even if it isn't faster than you, I certainly am." They looked up. A genin was stood on a branch far above them. The snake moved back to curl up beneath him, eyeing its prey. "Is it me or does it look hungry?" Naruto stage whispered. "The ninja or the snake?" Sasuke returned. "Yes." "Who are you?" Hinata called out to him, analyzing his chakra network. It was much more developed than any genins should be. "An interested party." The man replied with a smile. "I'm looking for someone willing to betray everyone they love for power. Any takers?" "You really need to work on your sales pitch, buddy," Sasuke replied, activating his Sharingan. "Alas, I admit my people's skills do need some work," sighed the man. "Most of the people who work for me are already crazy, so they're a lot easier to deal with. But if words won't move you," his tongue snaked out to lick his lips, then extended far longer than it should have been able to. "Then I'll just have to give you a taste." He looked left and downwards. "No, that doesn't work. I'm the one doing the tasting. Sorry, I'm only so good at the whole one-liners thing. That was always Jiraiya's you know what. I'm going to bite you. That's what's going on. Okay?" He gestured and the snake darted towards them again. Somehow, Naruto had ended up fighting Big Toothy. If he thought about it, his teammates had probably organized that deliberately, because they both had nothing to deal with the monster. Good luck using rotation on something bigger than a house. But he didn't have time to think about it right now, because a giant snake was trying to eat him. Multi-shadow clone jutsu, he called, summoning 100 or 200 more of himself, and all of him launched at the snake. Their combined momentum was actually enough to force it back, but rather than injuring it, that just sent it into a writhing mess. That squashed a good lot of the clones before they hit the floor. Those that survived clung to it tenaciously, trying to pry knives and shuriken between its scales. "The eyes!" He heard Sasuke's voice call out. Immediately, some of his clones jumped for Big Toothy's face and started stabbing. The snake was clearly an experienced summon. It responded to the threat of ninja on its nose by, quite sensibly, grinding the top of its face into the dirt and dispelling or shaking off all the attackers. From his left, he heard what had to be Hinata screaming. Naruto grimaced. He could feel the Kyuubi stirring inside his abdomen, but he tried to suppress it, fearing what would happen to his allies if he let it loose. He needed a better way. Time to start using that A-rank pay then. He summoned another 2 shadow clones, and reached into one of the larger pouches in his jacket. This was where he kept his explosive tags. Instead of tearing one off the strip, he unrolled the whole thing. If this doesn't work, the clones grabbed the roll by either end and charged forwards. Big Toothy was squashing all the other Naruto on it. however, and saw the attackers coming. With its tail, it flicked both out of the air, dispelling them. The explosive toilet roll, trademark, fluttered to the floor behind the snake, which began to slither rapidly towards Naruto's location, hissing angrily. Naruto considered using another barrage of shadow clones to push it back, but decided he needed a bit more concussive force. He put his hands together, multi-shadow clone jutsu. Then all of his duplicates ran through the only complicated set of hand seals he'd memorized. Buffeting wind jutsu, the maximum chakra Naruto could put into the C-rank jutsu times about 50, erupted a miniature hurricane in the forest. Smaller trees were uprooted, full-size ones buckled and cracked. Big Toothie was thrown, writhing, backwards along its path, falling in a heap on top of the explosive toilet roll. Naruto staggered backwards on his tree trunk, gasping. So this is what chakra exhaustion feels like. Grimacing, he dispelled all of his remaining clones to recover the remnants of their chakra and put his hands into the remote activation sign. 50 explosive tags detonated right under Big Toothie with a massive boom. A cloud of smoke obscured Naruto's vision, and he didn't have the chakra to clear it, collapsing backwards against the tree trunk, taking in ragged breaths. He could still hear sounds of fighting, and he looked sideways trying to catch a glimpse of his teammates. That's when Big Toothie erupted from the smoke in front of him. Bruised, with a bloody patch of missing scales, it was nonetheless both alive and angry, and it was charging full speed at him. He tried to jump away, but his chakra control was shot, and all he managed was to limply throw himself off his branch and began falling. The snake, despite his best efforts, still had perfectly functional eyes. Its head lunged out, and its jaws closed around him with a snap. About a minute earlier, Sasuke and Hinata charged. Their target raised his eyebrow. Sasuke went in left, flinging one kunai at his head and swinging another to his knee. Hinata went right. She made a Gyuugan strike towards his chest. And then something happened and they were both flung backwards. Try harder, the man incentivized. Hiki prizes only go to genin who put the effort in. Bonus victory, abandonment of teammates for rage or personal gain. The pair glared at him and ran back in. The following fight was epic, dramatic, and incredibly well choreographed, if the author had been bothered to describe it. Sasuke wasn't ashamed to admit that Hinata was the greatest at Taijutsu in their whole graduating class, not counting what Rock Lee could do when he started opening gates. Sasuke had seen that once, and wasn't looking forward to taking it on in the exams. Sasuke himself, thanks to rigorous training with the aforementioned two and also goddamn Itachi, was no slouch either. But this ninja was keeping up with them easily. He moved just fast enough to block or dodge everything they threw at him, and no faster, occasionally throwing out non-lethal strikes of his own to check if they were paying attention. This terrified Sasuke, because in the moments he had to think, he was amazed by his own performance. He had spent hours being taught, on principle, how the Sharingan performed against the Byakugan, but nobody had thought to inform him how well they worked together. Communication was unnecessary. She could see everything he did, and could act on his second-to-second plans without any prompting. On his end, time spent watching her fight with the Sharingan let him perfectly set up situations where she would be best suited to attack. It was this nigh impeccable teamwork that made it possible to tag the hostile ninja. The end of some razor wire, passed from Hinata to Sasuke during a period of swapping hands with their opponent, was wrapped around the hilt of his kunai and thrown. The ninja dodged left, then Hinata threw the knife on her and to his left. The ninja grabbed and caught the wire before it reached him, but he didn't have a blade like Kakashi had, and as the kunai looped round to each other, he was practically immobilized. By the time he had repelled Hinata's further palm strikes, and brought both hands up to snap the wire, Sasuke had already completed the hand seals for the Great Fireball. The grass man was bathed in fire. "Do you know any other attack jutsu?" Hinata grumbled, moving back to his position. "Do you know any attack jutsu at all?" He shot back, then shouted to his left, the eyes. As a hint to Naruto, the fire blew out, and the sight it left behind was horrific. The man's skin had been charred and blistered, his clothes in tatters. And then he sighed. "Good, I'll give you that," he admitted, "but troublesome." "Shikamaru?" Sasuke asked on impulse. "Nope," said the man. He brought a finger with a worryingly sharp nail to his skin, then, to the disgust of the genin watching, tore the top layer of his skin off. The completely unharmed form underneath had skin pale as snow, long black hair, and golden eyes with slitted irises. "Oh no," mumbled Sasuke. "Oh yes," hissed Orochimaru. Fuck. We need to get out of here now. Maybe we can distract him with shadow clones long enough to get Naruto and get the fuck out. Hinata's gotta be on the same page, anyone with a modicum of sensible threat assessment Waldo. Oh no. His Sharingan tracked Hinata, in full Avenge My Clan mode, sprinting straight at the S-class missing Nin at top speed. By the time he started moving to back her up, she was already in front of Orochimaru. 8 trigrams, she shouted. 64 PUG. Orochimaru grabbed her by the throat and lifted her up. Shout the technique name during the technique. He tutted. Your cousin managed that much at least. Hinata's eyes widened. Orochimaru grinned. Oh yes, I've had more than my fair share of encounters with Niji. Lovely boy, pretty eyes. Oh, and that was the abandonment of teammates' calls. Ding ding. He sunk his teeth into her neck. She let out an ear-piercing scream. Sasuke was there in a second, but Orochimaru was apparently already finished throwing her limp form at him to catch. He did so, jumping immediately back out of range. He hoped and setting her down. That was when he looked to check how Naruto was doing, just in time to watch him get eaten by a giant snake. Naruto, he shouted, voice hoarse, but it only served to attract the attention of the snake, which turned its head to him with a smug fucking expression on its face. Watching his blonde best friend die again, with his other teammate in God knows what condition by his feet, was enough to make Sasuke snap. A second Tomo came to life in his eyes. He blasted towards Orochimaru, witnessing everything in greater detail. Seeing everything at a faster rate, curling up his fist with a wordless cry of rage. He maintained a merciless barrage for 6 seconds straight before Orochimaru's neck stretched out, wrapping around Sasuke's body and freezing him in place. Well well, chuckled the Snake Sanin's head from behind Sasuke's shoulder. I only wanted one, but with a development like that how can I resist? Reckless abandonment of your teammates, Sasuke. Ding ding. He bit into the genin. The pain Sasuke felt was indescribable. It was like the man's fangs were injecting lava into his veins that spread across more of his body. With every passing second, he howled into the trees. Even from within Big 2Th's mouth, Naruto heard that shout. Now both his teammates were, at the very least, in incredible pain. Fine, he told the ball of hatred in his stomach. Do your worst. And the rage exploded. He put his arms to the top of the snake's mouth and heaved, forcing its jaw open. Snarling, he jumped out the exit provided, grabbing the tip of the snake's nose, demanding the Kyuubi to give him even more strength. More the Kyuubi provided. Red aura burning around him. He lifted the entire mass of the monster and flung it over his head, making it slam on its back on top of a cracked tree trunk, impaling it and probably breaking its spine in multiple places. It disarmed. Naruto smelled Sasuke before he saw him and was upon his location in moments, launching a wave of killing intent at his adversary. Orochimaru met that wave and smiled. Well, hello you. He unwrapped himself from Sasuke. I hope you don't mind me doing my thing with your friend here. Unless, wait, were you two a couple? Maybe. I'm going to tear you to fucking pieces. Naruto growled. I'm going to take that as a yes. Orochimaru hurled Sasuke to the floor some distance away. Naruto, desperately trying to quell the primal rage he was feeling, briefly considered launching himself at the Snake Sanin, but he eventually settled for darting across to Sasuke's unconscious form, standing over it protectively and baring his teeth. So the Kyuubi has more self-control than his two teammates, will wonders never cease. Orochimaru chuckled. How cute. Well then, I'll be off. You three take care. Naruto blinked, and Orochimaru was gone. Taking a few deep breaths, he quelled the red chakra flowing through his system. He nearly passed out from his troubles. The Kyuubi had been almost single-handedly fueling his body, but through considerable force of will, he was able to crouch down next to his partner without collapsing. Sasuke, are you okay? The obviously suffering Uchiha cracked open an eye. Naruto, he's gone. Naruto breathed. Do you? He could hardly ask are you okay? You suplexed a 100-meter snake, came Sasuke's response. He hacked and coughed, and Naruto realized he was laughing. You absolute fucking madman. His eye closed, and he slumped. Naruto checked his pulse, but he was definitely alive. The way he shook, tossed and turned was a bit of a giveaway. Naruto grimaced and stood. He knew damn well they wouldn't let him hear the end of it if he forfeit. So, he had to pass the exam, with his two unconscious and suffering and potentially all sorts of messed up teammates, while he only had one of the required scrolls, when he couldn't even afford to make a single shadow clone without knocking himself out. Backbone of the team, Naruto, come on. Sighing, he reached down and pulled Sasuke over one shoulder, winced and went looking for Hinata. Sound. It hurts. Pain. That was what woke her up. It was a constant throbbing agony that occasionally spiked and pulled her out of the unconscious. Usually she just shuffled and fell back into her slumber, but this time she refused, trying to get an arm under her and open her eyes. That hurt. But everything else already hurt, so she ignored it. Hinata, came a voice. It was a lovely voice. She looked up and spotted a flash of yellow. Naruto, she breathed relieved. Crap, hold on. Naruto shuffled around, then held something out to her. Drink. She acquiesced because it was Naruto. Whatever it was tasted like ash, but she gulped down as much as she could, coughing up a little at the end. How long? She gasped. About 3 days, Naruto replied tentatively. It's the middle of the night. Sasuke's been up twice. This is your first time. We're in a cave somewhere in the forest, and the exams are still on. Here, eat. She complied. It's cold. She mumbled around whatever he had just fed her. Couldn't risk a fire. He apologized. Tomorrow, maybe, but I've spent the last day recovering from the fight. I couldn't get into a thieves one. Well, that was problematic. Hinata tried to think and came up with a very elegant solution. She crawled over and collapsed on his lap. Ah, warm, she explained, snuggling closer. The pain eased just a little bit. Naruto sighed. Great, you're crazy too. Sasuke started mumbling about an alternate world where his brother turned evil and left the village. Then he confused me with his brother and tried to kill me. But he still pretty much couldn't move, swore vengeance. It was awkward. Hinata tried to run that through her head. You don't like me being here. No, you do you. He replied, shifting underneath her. You hate me. She started crying. No, I don't. You're great. You should. She sniffed. I betrayed you. In the same was as Itachi joined some terrorists. Naruto laughed. Sure. She loved his laugh. No. She shook her head, which had the side effect of wiping her face all over his shirt. In the written exam, I was going to ruin it all. You were? He asked. HMM. She nodded. I was going to forfeit the exam. Oh yeah. Naruto still didn't sound convinced. Why was that? I thought you were going to fail the last question and get banned from becoming Chunin, she explained. Now he thought she was a horrible traitor who was horrible. So she may as well tell him everything. I was going to forfeit to keep us all back a year. I was going to betray you all. But you didn't. But I thought it. Hinata. Naruto sighed. Tentatively, he put a hand on her head. It's okay. In the end you didn't stop us, and even if you did, it was because you cared about us, right? I guess. Hinata mumbled. Had she been fully awake she would have been freaking out right now. But as was she just thought Naruto made a very comfortable pillow. Then there's nothing to worry about. I forgive you, and Sasuke will too. He absently started stroking her hair. Hinata purred, which made him pause for a moment before continuing. I'm also sorry I went and attacked the snake man and got Sasuke hurt. She felt like adding, to make the slate clean. That's a little worse. Nuo, but it's okay. He reassured quickly. Just don't do it again. Okay. She nodded. Comfortable, she promptly fell back to sleep. Once again, Naruto smelled the attack coming before he saw it. He was pretty sure this was another sign of the demon fox trying to take over and kill everyone he loved. But this once he was thankful for it. He slowly shifted Hinata off himself and stood stretching his arms and cracking his neck. When the 3 genin dressed in black and grey dropped down outside the cave mouth, Naruto was stood there in front of them. If he'd had a mirror, he would have noticed that his eyes were red, and his whiskers a little more pronounced than usual. You're the team from Hidden Sound, right? He greeted, keeping his voice cordial. Uzumaki Naruto, how's your day? Dosu greeted the lead ninja, and pretty good. Just come across some easy prey. So mood seems to be on the up and up. Fair enough. Naruto shrugged. He gestured into the cave behind him, pointing at one of the satchels. You're an Earth team, right? We have a Heaven Scroll. We aren't in much shape to fight. They had 2, actually, theirs and the one from the Grass team that had tried to ambush them. He'd give both away if he had to, but he didn't plan to give up on passing just yet. What's to stop us from just taking it and eliminating you as a threat? Tested one of them, a girl. Naruto laughed easily. Wow, acting on point today. Do we look in much position to cause a threat? Well, maybe I have 20 shadow clones hidden in the forest. Who knows? You don't have the chakra to summon 20 shadow clones, laughed the other boy in the group. The point is, Naruto continued, either you can take the Heaven Scroll, beat the exam in another hour, and go take a nap, or you try to beat up me, probably succeed, but risk getting 1 or more of your members injured in the process. And I should probably warn you there's an S-class missing nin wandering around the forest. We know. And what? We know. Dosu shrugged. Orochimaru. He's a boss. Naruto paled, and the sound ninja laughed. I'll admit, if I'd been after your scroll you would have convinced me. But I'm here for your 2 teammates. The fox stirred again. Well, you can tell your boss, Naruto grit his teeth, that they both refused his invitation. Oh, I'm not bringing them to him. Dosu waved his hand dismissively. You think we want our master to have some new favorite pets? It's bad enough with Kimimaro and the Sound 4. No, we're going to kill them both. This has been a rollercoaster of a conversation, but still no. Naruto summarized. Alright then. Dosu shrugged. I was going to offer you a chance to ditch them both and live, actually. Those who fail their missions are scum. Naruto quoted. But those who abandon their teammates are worse than scum. Have it your way. Dosu replied. Zaku, sick him. The other male pointed his arms, but Naruto was already moving. A direct, visible threat for the 3 to focus on. That's what he was. Perfect for distracting them from the 20 shadow clones, which were about the most he could create at the moment. that were really there and bombarded the trio with kunai. The sound trio vanished before he could reach them, and in the split second it took him to realize what vanished entailed. He already began to get the memories of shadow clones popping. Then there was a boom from the trees, and a sonic blast ripped towards him, catching him in the stomach and launching him back towards the cave. Zaku walked out. "You used clones to spring my trap," Naruto muttered. "With Sound Ninja, your clones aren't that quiet, and I'll be killing you while my team is killing them," laughed Zaku. He pointed his wrists at Naruto again. "See these? These gauntlets fire compressed sound waves of pure concussive force. Why would you explain what they do?" Naruto asked, confused. "For drama, of course," Zaku explained. He fired. Naruto ran forwards, got caught up in the blast, and thrown backwards again. But by then he had completed his hand seals. The substitution technique swapped him with a kunai behind Zaku, and he turned and punched him in the back. Zaku went sprawling. He went running after him, ready to slam his head into the floor and put him out of the fight, but another gray ninja appeared in front of him. "Not so fast," sneered the girl. The following Taijutsu spar was fast-paced and vicious, Naruto foregoing his usual morals, and her having none in the first place. She was agile, launching quick jabs and sweeps, but Naruto was used to fighting Hinata. Finally engaging a speed type who wouldn't disable him with a single hit, he took one punch to the shoulder, in order to get his arms around her and squeeze, making her cry out in pain, then tackle her to the floor. He punched at her face, but Zaku fired a sonic blast from the floor, hurling him off his injured teammate. Annoyed, Naruto put his hands together and summoned a new cohort of shadow clones, one of which grabbed his arm and flung him back at the girl. Dosu intercepted him, catching his flying kick on an arm brace and knocking him back. "How many can he make?" the girl asked. "As many as he needs," Dosu growled. "He gets the chakra back every time we dispel them." Zaku, "Get up, Kin, stop time wasting." He pointed his bracer. "My turn." A high-pitched screech shot out of it. Naruto fell to the ground in pain, ears actually bleeding. The Kyuubi chakra bleeding out to improve his animal senses made this attack even more debilitating than usual, and he was practically defenseless as Kin ran towards him. She did not expect to be clotheslined. Naruto's shadow clones gangpiled her, brutally kicking and punching, only to be disintegrated by Zaku's arm cannons. The fuck is this? Why aren't the clones in pain? He fired an axe, disintegrating them all, but not before three had jumped Dosu, bludgeoning his metal gauntlets with reckless abandon. That would make any real person's knuckles bleed. "Who cares about pain?" one shouted. "We do our job," yelled another. Dosu's gauntlets buckled, and the noise stopped. Naruto shook his head, grinned, and attempted to make the shadow clone hand seal, but had to dart away from a kunai thrown by a bleeding and bruised Kin. She didn't have the time to throw a second, and his fingers formed the seals. The bell on her first kunai jingled. His new group attacked, and the battlefield became a chaotic mess of fistfighting. Naruto realized something was wrong when he smacked Dosu full in the face, only for him to poof into smoke. Then Naruto received the memories of Dosu punching him in the face. He put it together. "Jinjutsu," he cursed. Now he was clearly clued in, his opposition cut the subtlety. His vision became distorted and strangely colored, the terrain lurching beneath his feet. He then began getting the memories of shadow clones attacking each other or mistaking each other for their mutual opponents. That confusing mess sent him to his knees, hands cradling his head as he growled to himself. "Oh, looks like this one works on the shadow clones," laughed one of the Zaku. Kakashi had drilled them on Jinjutsu. Naturally, Naruto's poor chakra control made him useless at it, but Kakashi had taught him the defenses. You had two options: identify and pick apart the opponent's illusion with your own skills, nope, or perform a basic dispelling technique, more like it, that removed outside influences through a brute force chakra overload of your own systems. Not that he could be sure that would work, and there was no way to know how they had cast the technique, or if they could just do it again. The red chakra rose, uncoiling itself within Naruto's belly, and he viciously clamped down on it, trying to keep a clear head. His friends were in danger, damn it. Save Sasuke. Save Hinata. Save Sasuke. Save Hinata. Repeating the phrase like a mantra brought a degree of order back to his thoughts even as his last few clones were executed. With that clarity came his answer. Sound-based ninja. The bells? Closing his eyes and shutting out his ears, Naruto rose to his feet and performed the shadow clone technique. A kunai took him in the shoulder, likely in an attempt to disrupt him. He ignored it. 3 clones appeared around him, and as one, he and they moved to face 4 different directions. Buffeting wind jutsu. The gust blasted through the forest. One of the 4 managed to hit the bell, and it began ringing loudly, disrupting the Jinjutsu somewhat, and revealing its location. 1 clone substituted with it, and another grabbed it and crushed it in its fingers. The illusion stopped altogether. Naruto opened his eyes and looked back at the sound trio, who looked like they were quickly reappraising their threat assessment of him. "So, did you set up more traps while I was disabled, or did you keep wasting your time?" he asked. "Wanna come find out?" Kin taunted. Naruto bared his teeth. He sent in his shadow clones first, and it turned out Team Dosu had set up a few razor traps while hiding from his wind attack. They took out a few clones, and the rest continued on, undeterred. After that, it was only a matter of time. Even in his diminished state, he had more chakra than any one of the trio. They knew all his tricks as he knew all of theirs, but they didn't have an adequate counter to his. Dosu's gauntlets were busted, and the clones were careful not to let any of Kin's kunai go unintercepted. Zaku's sound blasts were still effective, but shadow clones could just be replaced, and Naruto himself just grew more angry every time he was caught by it. Team Dosu hadn't realized they were one-trick ponies until that moment, and now they were caught in a taijutsu brawl against an unlimited number of opponents. Dosu himself saw which way the winds were blowing, and when he saw something from within Naruto's cave, he seemed to decide that he had had enough. Zaku, breathing room, he yelled and did something with his gauntlet. The damaged machine exploded, letting out a screech of even greater intensity than before that elicited a similar howl from Naruto. Zaku fired his gauntlets in an arc and cleared out most of the clones, and while the few remaining stopped their assault to make more, the trio jumped backwards and fled into the trees. That was when Naruto took the time to yank the kunai out of his shoulder. It bled. He ignored it. He wanted to chase after them, but he remembered there was some reason he was supposed to stay in the cave. Oh right, his teammates. There they were though, on their feet and ready to go. Both Sasuke and Hinata had strange black markings spreading from their necks out across their bodies. Both had Dijutsu active. Who? Sasuke asked, tone flat. The sound team. Naruto shot back. Orochimaru's guys. Then let's go get them. Hinata proposed, stretching her arms out and looking into the middle distance. Naruto made a feral smile. A pack of animals ran through the forest. At their head, a demon fox, the other two no less dangerous and no less ferocious. One's eyes could see their prey through the trees, one's nose could smell them from anywhere in the forest. Team Dosu never stood a chance. Naruto hit Zaku in the back with a double kick. That sent him flying into a nearby tree, while Sasuke came up on his left and caught Dosu by the ankle, promptly throwing him through a branch with enough force to snap it in two. That is, snap the ankle, then the branch. Hinata appeared in front of Kin and struck her with the 64 palms. Before she could even make a fighting stance, the girl fell, limp, to the forest floor. Zaku hit the ground next to her not much later, and Sasuke carried his prey down by the throat, walking Dosu slowly towards his teammates, before throwing him limply at them. That's everyone, Sasuke said breezily. What do you want to do? I could fireball all three no problem, but if you have one in particular you want to gut, you go right ahead. Naruto considered it, then frowned. There was something wrong with this. He tried to figure out what was bothering him. It wasn't the teamwork. He always liked teamwork. Had he made any tactical errors? Not that he had noticed it. He have a problem with killing them for some reason. Oh. When exactly did I lose control of the Kyuubi chakra? He could almost hear the fox laughing darkly as the red light fled his eyes, and his body stopped blocking out all the pain he was in. The Earth Scroll, he told Dosu, trying not to let his pain show. Maybe it was the two cursed ninja flanking him, but they didn't spot it. Give us the scroll, then get out of here. I knew we forgot something. Sasuke sighed. Dosu nodded silently, one visible eye very wide, as he fished out the black scroll and tossed it forwards. Naruto caught it as Dosu and a very injured Zaku picked up the paralyzed Kin and ran again. You want to chase them down again? Hinata moaned at his side. It's getting boring. Hinata. He walked up to her, desperately. You're not yourself. I'm fine. She waved a hand dismissively. She was not fine. The symbol on her neck was pulsing red, and the black markings on her skin were shifting angrily. Hinata, we don't kill people. We don't. Hinata, damn it, remember this morning. Last night. Naruto tried to think of what would snap her out of it. We were talking and you were, well, pretty much drunk, and then you climbed on top of me, and Hinata's eyes widened. The curse mark warred with a much greater force. Her own embarrassment, and was defeated, the black marks glowing red, and receding back within the original spiral on her neck. That was, she stammered. We were just while she fell unconscious on the floor. Naruto turned to Sasuke, similarly afflicted, who seemed to be dealing with his problems on his own. Now the battle was over and his bloodlust was quieting down. His own markings were disappearing from his skin. Naruto, what the fuck just happened? You got a hickey from a snake, Jude, and turned evil for a moment. Don't pass out. I am not carrying you both again. Naruto caught Sasuke as he fell, but the latter waved a hand dismissively and was able to get to his feet. I'm fine. Fuck, I'm not fine. Oh, that hurts. He grimaced. Does this thing only stop hurting when I turn evil? Because that's some solid motivation right there. Naruto started massaging his temples. Damn it, Kakashi said this would be less stressful than the deadly Mist Jonin. Can you help carry? I'll be lucky if I don't need carrying. Sasuke grumbled. He eyed Hinata suspiciously. She enjoyed that violence way too much. You weren't very saintly either. Naruto cautioned. All right, shadow clones it is then. Hey, smile. Why? We got the Earth Scroll. Naruto waved it in the air. Unless someone else attacks us with murderous intent. I think we just passed round 2. Sasuke sniffed at that and looked at the sky. Well, we're still pretty far out from the center. And we've only got, what, 2 hours? I thought we had another day. Midday on the 5th day, Naruto. We have 2 hours. Naruto blanched. Right, 2 hours. Shadow clones. Go, go. Shed to a Morningstar. Morningstar. The most basic level of combat is the same for all weapons. She answered, swinging the ball and chain. Guy-sensei claimed it, and I proved it. Also, when I'm practicing with a new weapon I don't have to spar with Lee. Touché. He caught the Morningstar by the chain and wrenched it from her, only to catch a brass-knuckled strike to the face. He swung the spiked ball at her himself, but it clanked against the shield dash shield. What self-respecting ninja uses a shield dash on her free arm? She had made a mistake though. Brass knuckles were taijutsu. He parried a few punches, and was able to land a strike to her face in return, then grabbed onto her shield and cartwheeled. The maneuver would have broken her arm had she not relinquished the shield to his hands. But as it was, she fell backwards and summoned another weapon pair from her scroll. The hook swords glinted. Those things are vicious. Sasuke nodded appreciatively, equipping the shield to his own arm, after checking it for traps. But you've checkmated yourself. How? Her eyes narrowed. By checking me. He grinned at her. Now I have to do something insane. Her eyebrows raised. Oh no, they've corrupted you. He sighed. Afraid so. It's not so bad once you get used to it. He sprinted at her. The first 2 sword swings he caught on his shield, but the third he dodged, bringing the blunt edge of the metal plate down on her arm. She was too good to drop the weapon due to the pain, but it was enough for him to pull it off her with his free hand. The 2 blades locked between them. Sasuke marshaled his chakra. Now you're in checkmate. She grinned, pulling a crossbow. Really? From her back and aiming it at his stomach. In her moment of victory, her eyes met his. She blanched. His Sharingan flashed red. She pulled the trigger on impulse, launching a bolt into his gut, and he winced and closed his eyes. It was enough for her to disentangle their weapons, hook his leg with hers, and drop him on his back, leveling the business end of the sword at his throat. I win, she breathed. I forfeit, he grumbled. Victory to Tenten, called out Jekko. She whooped, dropping her weapons and turning back to her team. Well done. Your youth was shining brightly. Lee stuck his thumb up at her with a grin. Not really, sighed Sai. Tenten blinked at him. What? This isn't really happening, Sai explained. You tried hard though. Good fight. Or that was what Tenten thought happened. What actually happened was that after she met Sasuke's eyes she froze in place, Genjutsu taking hold, and then fell unconscious to the floor. Does that count? Sasuke called. Victory goes to Sasuke, called out Jekko. Nice going Sasuke. Naruto yelled from the stands. Wait. Didn't you just use chakra? Won't that dash yet? Sasuke winced as the curse mark on his shoulder began glowing red. Okay, I'm going to Jiraiya now. Ow, fuck, this was a terrible idea. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the edgiest of them all? 10 years earlier, congratulations on your victory. Gee, no fucking way. The Chunin stared. 2 genin and 4 scrolls were in front of him. Itachi absently picked his nose. So that was round 2, right? You, the Chunin, stood there, flabbergasted. How? It's been, what, 2 hours? I know. I'm disappointed in myself as well, sighed Neji. My movement was terribly inefficient. May I have another go? I could at least half the time it took. You, the Chunin, spluttered. But you were split up. How did you find each other? Byakugan, Neji offered. Wait, were we not supposed to be split up? That doesn't make sense. Itachi frowned. This wouldn't have even been a challenge if we'd been paired up. I wouldn't have had to worry about whether or not to help save that other team of Leaf Genin. We have just gone in and done it. I saw that, Neji remarked. Good work, by the way. Thank you. E.g. go ahead. The Chunin moved to the side of the 2 monster children and let them pass. Oh. By the way, Itachi turned around. I do have one question. What's the plan for picking up the ninja who were following us? Because we sort of left them in the woods. They're the Overwatch ninja. The Chunin blinked. The Jonin looking after you so you don't open the scrolls early. Well, yes. Neji tilted his head. Were we not supposed to incapacitate them? The Chunin fainted. Present day okay. Maybe Hinata will have time to get her seal fixed. Let's see, next round is Hinata versus Sai. Goddammit. Fuck. I'll go get her. Are you sure it's a good idea to kill more Konoha ninja? Orochimaru asked casually. I didn't fancy my chances holding back, Kabuto reasoned. And after they saw me it was their corpses or my cover. He began performing a specific jutsu he'd learned from his medical training to turn the ninja's brains to mush. Fair enough. Orochimaru conceded. He was leaned against the wall of an alleyway, trying to keep the blood of the corpses off his feet. How went the exam? I tried to make contact with Team 7 to assess their progress, but they spent the vast majority of the time hiding in a cave. Kabuto apologized. They only got out for an hour or 2 before finishing. While looking for them, however, my team encountered Team Guy. That's Sai and his friends. he clarified. I see, Orochimaru mused. How is our good friend Danzo, by the way, still scheming and possibly still chasing after Hiruzen's hat? Kabuto sighed. Subtext from Sai implied he had a reason to get through to the finals, so right through the fight. I hope you don't mind. No, appease him for now. Allow the snake Sannin. As long as he doesn't interrupt what we're organizing with Suna, he can do as he wishes. There was a cough, and he turned to look at its origin annoyedly. Excuse me, we're trying to ignore you. Apologies, sir. Dosu dipped his head. He and his team were huddled in the corner of the alley as their superiors talked. No, it's fine, go ahead. It's just Dosu tilted his head in thought. Why are we still alive? We've failed our mission and our cover is blown. Why isn't your pet medic turning us to mush? Perceptive as always, young Dosu, Orochimaru crooned. In truth, you haven't really failed. I sent you in to infiltrate the exam and test whoever I decided to gift the curse mark, and you did. But we got caught, protested Zaku, somewhat masochistically. We had to take out that team with the dog and bug dudes to get into the third round. But then Uzumaki tattled on us immediately. That was very stupid, yes, agreed their master. But I still have uses for you and your team in this mission, and that means I need you alive. Although it would be nicer to have your corpses so they don't go looking for you. The Sand siblings killed a trio in the forest, Kabuto offered. With a clothes switch and sufficient mutilation, they could be mistaken for these three. Orochimaru stood fully and began leaving. Perfect. And I'll go pretend to be a distraught and outraged sensei over the death of my students. He sighed dramatically. Truly, there is no rest for the wicked. Hinata walked into position across from Sai. He smiled at her emptily. It was one of the reasons she didn't like him. Her clan had many books on reading people's emotions, and while she had originally struggled with it, she could now often spot whenever someone was lying to her, except very experienced ninja. But now she couldn't ignore it, and it upset her when she spotted it. One of the most appealing things about Naruto was that he was terrible at concealing his thoughts, and rarely even tried. Sai, though, it was like his face moved, and his brain was blank behind it. He was untrustable. Are you well, Miss HYUUGA? He asked, still smiling. It wouldn't do for us to compete when you are not at full strength. You will find me more than adequate, she replied, simply. Excellent. Sai's smile widened. Please do not hold back. The curse mark pulsed, and Hinata made sure not to show it. No chakra flow, the Toad Sage had said. Sure, it's not like her entire fighting style relied completely on chakra flow. The bursts from her fingers and palms weren't really taxing on her reserves, but they were enough to set the curse mark off. As was summoning, as was the Byakugan, as was her entire arsenal, which she was now realizing was a very dangerous weakness. Her fingers twitched. Traditional pressure point cart as it is then. Are both contestants ready? Jekko confirmed. They nodded. Alright then. Begin. Hinata knew Sai would expect her to run straight at him, but she was tired, so that's exactly what she did. He was faster than Tenten, Hinata realized with a start as he began drawing in his scroll. Because Hinata was faster than Sasuke, and Sai's ink and paper flowed to form shuriken when she was further than he had been. The mild-mannered, innocuous member of Team Guy was actually good, and she had never actually seen Sai fight. To quote Sasuke, oh shit. Then the time for retrospection was past. She was ducking and dodging and sorely missing her perfect vision. Sai backed up, still drawing, and then a trio of snakes left his scroll and slithered towards her, bodies made of paper and ink. Summoning jutsu. Blood in the ink. No summon looked like that. She couldn't check, of course, because she couldn't turn on the Byakugan. The first snake launched at her throat. She caught it around its neck, but it extended unnaturally to continue biting at her. Undeterred, she brought her other arm up and tore it in half. The other two snakes moved to wrap around her legs, as Sai threw another brace of paper shuriken. Grimacing, Hinata jumped into the air. In one turn, she drew and flung two kunai at the snakes beneath her, pinning them to the floor, then twisted until her fallible eyes could see the incoming projectiles, and plucked two of them from the air, deflecting the rest. She landed. Naruto whooped from the stands. Then she flung her two shuriken at Sai. He leaned left. Well done, the pale boy judged, still smiling. Let's up the difficulty. He finished a drawing. Leaping from his scroll was a porcupine. Is that going to turn into armor or something? Hinata asked hesitantly. The porcupine saw her, glared and launched a volley of spines from its back. Okay then. Hinata ran. The porcupine, apparently, did not seem to be running out of ink anytime soon. It fired in a line, not a cone, but that line had some width to it, which meant that the closer she got, the higher risk she ran of it pegging her. She had made herself too paranoid about there being something in that ink to allow that. Problem was that unless she was in Sai's face pressing him, A, she didn't have any attack options, and B, he could do whatever he wanted. This was demonstrated quite clearly when he pulled out another ink creature, this time a skunk. She dodged another blast of spines and looked at it in confusion. It waltzed outwards until it was just as far away as Hinata realized with a start she had managed to get before Sai had reacted to her. So Sai had good game sense too. Why hadn't she picked any of this up before? Then the skunk turned its back to her and oh come on. Thick black smoke began spewing from it was farting. That's what it was farting. Really? She yelled at Sai. He shrugged. The smoke was spreading throughout the arena. Now this was definitely poisonous. Or at least she was meant to think it was. He was trying to pin her into a corner. She threw an experimental shuriken at the animal, but Sai intercepted it with one of his own. She grimaced. So if it could affect her with just a touch, she was dead without using rotation. If it couldn't though, Sai had just signed his own death warrant. Defeat warrant. Bad curse mark. Hinata took in a deep breath and sprinted into the clouds. It's beautiful. Naruto gripped the railing between him and the battlefield, staring down at the ink creatures. A weaponized fart. I'd never thought it was possible. You aren't worried it's going to hurt your teammate? Kakashi eyed him. Hinata'll be fine. Naruto dismissed. But look at it. It's farting. This is a level of pranking I've never seen before. I need to step up my game. In the arena, Sai waited patiently and watched. The smoke roared but stayed in place, probably influenced by his chakra. It had been a good 20 seconds since Hinata had entered the smoke cloud, and the battle had halted in its tracks. 20 Ryoshi never comes out, shouted Asuma. I'm in. Kakashi shouted back, then held his hand up in the air. Hinata burst from the smoke, running straight at Sai and threw a kunai. A grumbling Asuma chucked a pouch of coins into Kakashi's waiting palm. Sai dodged the kunai boredly as his porcupine fired another volley of spikes at Hinata, who took a breath and vanished back into the mist. Then the kunai turned into a Hinata. Sai spun in place to catch her palm on his lead hand, then pulled a sword from his back to cut at her. But Hinata was still faster than him at close range. The porcupine had to turn around and fire, clipping Sai with needles in order to catch her in her assault. But by that point, she had already deadened every nerve in his right arm, his drawing arm, and then she popped. The real Hinata was already charging back out of the smoke, flinging even more knives at him and his porcupine. Naruto had handed her his spares before the fight. Suddenly, Sai's eyes widened. They actually widened, and trapping his scroll with his knees, he used his offhand to put pen to paper, then flung a paper shuriken towards Hinata. Then, in between them, erupted a great ball of flame. Hinata coughed and staggered to her feet. That clanless peasant. He's actually really good. The shadow clone splits chakra rather than consumes it. That's what Kakashi had told her. That technicality meant it didn't set off the curse mark, which was a godsend, one she had taken full advantage of. Even so, she had expected him to take out the shadow clone disguised as a kunai. She had expected him to survive her real body's simultaneous assault even with one hand. She had not expected him to realize the shadow clone had tagged his scroll with an explosive tag, then put that tag onto a paper shuriken and throw it in time to blow up all her other projectiles and hit her. She plucked one knife out of her padded white jacket and glared at him. I killed your skunk. He nodded. It had been caught in the explosion. It wasn't very useful, don't worry. Besides, it's about to get replaced. Cursing, she jumped to her feet, but the porcupine's attack pinned her down again. She summoned a shadow clone, planning to perform a similar maneuver as had killed the skunk, and then an eagle burst from the scroll. Hinata gulped. It was big. Its body itself was twice as long as her, and its wingspan was proportionally giant. If it were a summon, it would have cost almost as much chakra as she possessed. Summons were teleported in. Not made, but they were alive, nodding facsimiles. So she didn't know how the cost of it compared. But it was obviously dangerous. Do it? She bit out. Her shadow clone moved behind her. The eagle screeched and buffeted its wings. A massive gust of wind hurtled towards her. Behind her, her shadow clone narrowed its eyes and began striking at various points on the back of her neck. She felt the area start to go numb and moved into stance. 8 trigrams, she shouted. Rotation, she span in place. The eagle's wind had no effect on the HYUUGA jutsu, forming a small whirlwind around her. Hinata ended her spin and immediately drew a scroll from her jacket pocket, biting her thumb and smearing the blood on the parchment. She only had so much time, after all. Her shadow clone's efforts had deadened all chakra points that lead to her curse mark, effectively cutting it off from her circuit, and letting her use ninjutsu with impunity. It had the side effect of cutting off chakra flow to her brain, but that left her with a good 30 seconds to end the fight before she passed out. She poured chakra into the scroll, and it responded as she called upon a newly familiar summon. Forsooth, the first owl she had met popped into existence, took one look at the battlefield, and took to the air, launching a screech of defiance and beelining for the paper eagle. Hinata and her clone activated their Byakugan and charged straight forwards at Sai. The porcupine could only hit one of them, and only made the real Hinata veer away before the clone was upon it. Sai threw more shuriken, but Hinata Prime got in the way with another rotation, allowing the clone to slam a palm into the porcupine, shredding it with a burst of chakra. Sai's face tightened imperceptibly, though anyone's eyes, but Hinata's wouldn't have caught it. 20 seconds of consciousness remaining. Forsooth grabbed onto Sai's eagle and began tearing into it with beak and claw. The paper animal silently struck back, but Forsooth was bulkier and did far more damage. Scraps of paper fell to the ground. The two Hinata fell upon Sai, who drew his sword with his one remaining good arm and kicked his scroll behind him. His attention fully on her, he withstood for a few moments before going into a one-armed somersault. In a display that she almost didn't believe even as she saw it, he flipped his sword between his feet and kicked it at the original Hinata, at which range she had to catch it to avoid being impaled, and skidded backwards as her clone pressed forwards. Mid-somersault, Sai drew with his left hand on his scroll and whipped the whole thing towards her. The Hinata shadow clone could see the chakra in the paper and saw it form something very similar to an explosive tag. She trapped it between her legs, but now her easily destroyable body wouldn't keep the explosion from hitting the real Hinata. Sai's smile turned just a little cruel. 10 seconds until she lost consciousness. Darkness began to spread across her 360 vision, and she started to feel dizzy and faint. She threw Sai's sword into the air. Her shadow clone noticed it immediately and started flashing through the hand seals for the substitution jutsu. Sai immediately realized what she was doing, but was too busy in his retreat to interfere. Sai's sword stabbed up into his eagle, eliciting a silent wail from the thing. Then the sword switched places with Hinata's clone, and the scroll trapped between her legs. The scroll exploded, popping the shadow clone immediately and tearing the paper eagle immediately into shreds. The real Hinata on the ground grabbed the sword from her clone's original position, throwing it hilt first at Sai's shoulder. His right shoulder. She saw the muscles in his deadened arm twitch, then his left moved up to try and snatch the blade, but he was too slow, being hit in the shoulder and sent spinning. Then she was on top of him. The palm strikes rained in. 8 trigrams, she shouted, once he was fully unable to react. 64 palms. She had learned that lesson from Orochimaru. Sai's limp form collapsed to the floor as the burning remnants of his eagle fell around him. Call it. She snapped, out of breath. Victory goes to Hinata. Jekko confirmed. And someone get her a doctor. Yes, a doctor would probably be good. Hinata looked up to the stands. Naruto was there, cheering loudly with his fist in the air. She'd done it. She'd won without losing control, without opening the curse mark, and he was happy. She might have smiled had consciousness not left her. As it was, Forsooth flew down and gently lowered her body to the floor next to Sai's. Yeah, but Lee is Lee. Curse Mark Design version 4.8 summary. I would finally be willing to call this technique complete. Following is a list of all features and side effects. Ash the curse mark can be applied by me personally in a ritual Fuin ninjutsu that I can perform relatively quickly. Ash its purpose is to mimic Jugo's ability to passively summon senjutsu chakra from the environment. Bite me Jiraiya, you fat old asshole. Ash the curse mark stage I activates after a few days of suffering, or it might kill you. It increases the user's physical capabilities by a flat amount proportional to how much senjutsu chakra is absorbed. Dash the curse mark requires a constant supply of the user's chakra to keep activated, and the user can vary how much power they want to provide, and in turn receive, which is visible by how far the black markings have spread across the user's body. Ash activation of the curse mark to some degree is almost certain when using chakra for any techniques. This can be mitigated by precise chakra control, or putting an additional seal atop the mark, not like I'm gonna throw lol. Dash use of the mark, similarly to effects seen in Jugo, will erode the user's sense of reason without strict self-control and mental discipline. Even possessing the mark will cause violent/depressive urges in the subject over time, letting me control them easier. So you know, nice side effect, dash through the death of the user, a situation I have made recoverable using the Mind Awakening pill, page 36. The user can access the curse mark stage 2. This causes an even more dramatic increase in physical abilities, as well as a seemingly random change to the user's appearance, usually resulting in a beast-like appearance. Also, sometimes called extra limbs. Ash in stage 2. The curse mark allows the user to enhance their traditional jutsu with senjutsu chakra, increasing their power and often applying additional effects. Note to self, find a way to steal Jiraiya's Sage Mode notes. Ash Personal Research Handbook of Orochimaru Maniacs. Absolute Maniacs. Jiraiya was mumbling to himself as Naruto walked in. The Sannin had apparently made base camp in the abandoned room Kakashi had first taken Team 7-2, and was now kneeling over Sasuke and Hinata. Itachi was pacing in the corner, mumbling to himself, 2 Tomo. He got 2 Tomo already. That's amazing. Are they going to be alright? Naruto asked, stepping in. Jiraiya sighed. Yeah, they should be, despite their best efforts to the contrary. Bad enough my ex-partner put a curse mark on them both. They had to go ahead and try and ruin their bodies a bit more before I got to them. No regrets, chuckled Sasuke from the floor, getting a swat on the back of his head for his trouble. Listen, midgets, Jiraiya declared. Orochimaru was almost as dramatic as I am. but he was not one for vague or fancy naming techniques. If he calls a jutsu the 8-headed serpent, it makes him turn into an 8-headed serpent. If he called this thing the curse mark, then it isn't something you want to agitate just to progress through the exams. We have to make Chunin. Sasuke protested. All three of us have made at least 5 separate I need to get stronger speeches since we got back from Wave. I could have gotten you buys, you absolute morons. Jiraiya sighed. Oh, whiskers. Jiraiya pinched his forehead. Who's up next? Lee is fighting that Gaara guy from Suna. Naruto shrugged. Both are pretty cool. I don't know who I want to win, but I'm pretty sure Lee has it in the bag. Why are you looking at me like that? Guy's not son is fighting Sabaku no Gaara, and you think he'll win? Itachi asked incredulously. I mean, yeah. The blonde blinked back at him. Lee has the 8 gates. He opened the first one into jutsu training once and trounced the 3 of us at once. He and Sasuke shuddered. That had not been a fun session for Team 7. And he can open like, what, 4 of them if he has 2. He basically has this tournament in the bag. We've been brainstorming plans just for him. Naruto, Gaara is a Jinchuriki. Jiraiya said, slowly. Yeah. I know, Naruto replied, nonplussed. I'm a Jinchuriki. I could throw a massive snake. Lee can probably throw more than one massive snake. Genius power scaling. Jiraiya looked across at Itachi. The Jonin sighed and moved towards the door. I'll be there to stop them killing each other. Fix up my brother, old man. Itachi body flickered and was gone. Jiraiya took up a pot of red ink and an old-fashioned quill and began drawing on Sasuke's back. I'm going to give you both a crash course in Fuin Ninjutsu, just so you're not completely clueless. Kinda like how hand seals and nature transformations act as instructions for molding chakra, seals are written instructions that mold whatever chakra touches it. Some, like the chakra-activated explosive tags, are relatively simple. Others are more complicated. Seals to hold a tailed beast in your body are pretty damn complicated. Whatever Orochimaru's done to your friends, I gotta admit even I don't really know how it works. Reassuring. Sasuke drawled. I've seen it before, admitted Jiraiya. I think you know her, actually. Purple hair, great rack, thing for snakes. Anko has a curse mark. Naruto gaped. Jiraiya grinned. I was able to get pretty intimate with her curse mark. Now both these clan trust fund babies dash. Hey, have different marks to each and other, and to Miss Mitarashi. Marks you just might recognize. They were the same marks as on the scrolls we carried through the forest. Naruto explained to his confused-looking teammate. I had a lot of time waiting in the cave. Sasuke has the earth symbol on his neck, Hinata has the heaven symbol. Jiraiya nodded. And the amount of Senjutsu chakra I can sense off these is even higher than in Anko's Sen what now? Natural energy. Jiraiya extrapolated. An extra dimension to a ninja's arsenal most people never get to learn. Teach me. Later. Jiraiya dismissed him and started muttering to himself. I didn't think you could manage Sage Mode. That's what happens when you turn your body into snakes, you old shit. But apparently you found some other crazy cheating way to do it. This is just like you. Are my teammates going to be okay? Naruto interrupted. Yes. The Toad Sage sighed, going back to drawing on Sasuke's back. I can't remove the marks, but I can put my own seal on top of them to control them. Your teammates will still be able to turn them on deliberately, although that's a terrible idea. But otherwise they won't activate unless they completely lose control. He finished and put his hand on Sasuke's back. Now scram. But I want to stay, Naruto complained. I can't concentrate while you're agonizing over my every move. Jiraiya countered. Your fight could be any minute, go back to the stands. We'll be fine, Naruto. Sasuke reassured. I'm happy, the blonde left. You sent him out because it's gonna hurt, didn't you? Sasuke concluded once Naruto was gone. A lot. Jiraiya confirmed, channeling his chakra. There will probably be screaming. Sasuke scoffed. Look, I don't know who you're used to dealing with, but I'm an Uchiha. Holyfuck dash. When Naruto reached the arena he was greeted with Temari, and Shikamaru stood at other sides of the arena staring at each other. Hey, why aren't Gaara and Lee fighting? He asked Itachi. They already finished. The Jonin still seemed somewhat shell-shocked. Lee won that fast. Nope, Gaara won. Did he dash? Lee went 5th gate. Itachi cut across. It wasn't enough. Gaara's arsenal is pretty much built to take down melee fighters and ranged fighters. And, well, I'll show you the match later. Naruto whistled. Okay, great. I'll just throw out all my anti-Lee plans then. He wandered over to the edge of the stands. In the arena, Temari had just blown another wing gust at Shikamaru, who had jumped behind a tree to avoid the attack. Anyway, I'm next. Okay. Naruto started stretching. Better get warmed up. This could end any minute. 45 minutes later. Okay, one adult-sized Jonin or one child-sized Jonin. Does the Jonin have the same chakra reserves? No, it's like a Jonin mind, but in a normal child's body. So same chakra and fitness. And then the other one's an idiot. but with a jonin's body and stuff. Yeah. I mean, does the jonin in a kid get standard ninja equipment? Because without the knife and some ninja wire he isn't going to dash. Wait, look, something's happening. Down in the arena, Shikamaru's shadow darted through the shadow of a shuriken parachute he had set into the sky. The audience watched with bated breath as Tamari darted backwards, and Juice managed to keep away from the shadow. The audience collectively groaned. Come on, get it over with already. Sasuke and Hinata had both recovered from their curse-marked ceiling and joined Naruto in the stadium. The match was still going on. Hey, fuck off. Tamari snapped at the crowd. This is what real ninja battles look like sometimes. She's distracted, Itachi noted. So what? Naruto waved his hand dismissively, flopped back in his seat. It's not like Shik's gonna do anything about it. Sasuke's eyes widened. No, he has. Look. While Tamari had been glaring at the spectators, Shikamaru had thrown a kunai. Now his shadow stretched out towards Tamari, through the shadow of the parachute, through the shadow of the still-moving kunai, and tagged her. The crowd held their breath. Locked in his shadow possession jutsu, Tamari was forced to walk towards Shikamaru, until they were face to face. Shikamaru moved his hand to his crotch. Dude, what the fuck are you doing? Tamari asked with a heavy blush as her own hands followed suit. Shikamaru's hand lingered for a moment, before reaching for the, deliberately in a peculiar place, kunai holster on his inner thigh. He drew the blade. Tamari's hand came up empty, but she sighed in relief, and a little disappointment, not that she'd ever admit it. Are you going to make me do this? Shikamaru asked boredly, holding the kunai up to her throat. I forfeit. Tamari bit out. Victory to Shikamaru. Gekko drawled from where he had been sat reading one of Jiraiya's books. The crowd universally cheered. Oh, shut up. Final match, Naruto vs Choji. Finally. I know, right. I would have had my third lunch by now. Naruto looked across at Choji with a raised eyebrow. When did you have your second? Ino's leftover rations. This diet she's on is great. It doesn't really sound healthy for a ninja. No, it's great for me. Oh. Got it. Are both contestants ready? Gekko interrupted. They nodded. All right. Let the final round of the preliminaries begin. Naruto grinned and put his hands together. Null. The training seal on his back deactivated, and he charged to meet Choji. Despite his obviously unhealthy eating habits, Choji was one of the more genuinely competent of the Konoha genin. He was the son of a prominent ninja clan, and had always been able to completely trounce Naruto in sparring, not unlike everyone else in his class, except sometimes Sakura. But now Naruto had been training with Might Guy every day for almost 2 months, and the time he spent not working with that Taijutsu monster, he wore the training seal that applied resistance to all his movements. The difference caused by suddenly moving through air and not cement was one not easy to calculate, but the result was obvious. Naruto blitzed forwards and punched Choji flat in the stomach with enough force to send him skidding to a halt halfway across the arena. Choji coughed once. The Konoha genin, and most of their sensei, looked on in shock as the orange-clad boy lifted up his fist and flexed it in front of his face with a perplexed huh. This was his first time since graduation fighting a fellow genin who hadn't been through the same pain he had. Choji got up, grimacing, and formed hand seals. Akimichi-style ninjutsu. Human bullet tank. His head popped inwards, his body expanded, and a giant spinning ball of humans started rolling towards his opponent. Naruto held his ground. Uzumaki-style ninjutsu. He countered. Obey the damn laws of physics. This was a jutsu he had realized he possessed while fighting Orochimaru, and perfected while waiting in the cave. Around him appeared well over 40 shadow clones. The first sprinted straight towards Choji, and did the transformation jutsu, turning into a large metal ramp. Choji's glorified hamster ball rolled right up the ramp and into the air. The obey the damn laws of physics jutsu was, at its heart, throwing lots of shadow clones at something big really fast, so that it falls over. This is what the shadow clones did, one after the other slamming into the bullet tank, which was a lot less massive than Orochimaru's snake. The successive impacts soon bled dry Choji's forward momentum, then began to send him backwards as he fell, crashing him into the wall of the arena. Naruto grinned and strode forwards. He was confident. For once, not fighting with a desperate bravery, but genuine belief in his own abilities. Note to self, do more of this. Choji sat up and glared across at him. When did you get so strong? Naruto smiled back. I dunno, about last month. Choji huffed. Fair enough. I didn't want to do this, but until you get the rep you deserve, I'm not losing a fight to you. Also, Asuma-sensei will pay for my next meal if I win. Oh damn, really? If my ninja way, trademark, wasn't on the line, I might let you have that. Choji smiled back. From his pocket, he pulled out a brightly colored pill. You see this? Dad says that in the tournament, I can use this one if I really have to. I think this counts as an emergency. He scoffed the ball. What does it do? Naruto asked, back on guard. Converts the calories stored in my body fat into chakra, said Choji, smugly, as wisps of the stuff started to surround him. About how many calories? About as much as I eat on an average night out. Oh shit! Choji blasted forwards and punched Naruto, who caught the strike on his forearm, and skidded backwards a couple meters. Choji continued to press, throwing out a few more punches and an elbow, which Naruto blocked before countering with a hooked first. That sent Choji into the air. Naruto jumped up and double-kicked down at him, knocking him down to the floor, but Choji landed on his feet and turned Naruto's follow-up away. The following fight could be accurately described as two very strong children beating the stuffing out of each other. Choji and his food pills were stronger than Naruto, so Naruto quickly started summoning shadow clones. Choji responded by using the partial expansion technique to let him hit more of them at once, so Naruto responded by summoning more shadow clones. At this point, Naruto's willingness to get his hands dirty proved to be a problem for him, as it was easy for Choji to keep track of the only one who didn't immediately pop upon being hit and barrel after him like a juggernaut. So Naruto made his shadow clones who weren't busy substitute with him to throw off that particular method of attack. He didn't actually know how long Choji could stay in this state, but frankly, the Akimichi didn't look like he'd be running out of calories anytime soon. So Naruto resorted to the other technique he'd been practicing in the cave. He used the swing from one of Choji's oversized hands to catapult him up into the air, then put his hands together in a variation of a familiar seal, namely, one with a spiked star between his palms. Shadow Shuriken Jutsu. Choji could have dodged 1, 2, or even 5 shuriken. He didn't have much to counter the 100 ninja stars that catapulted in a wide arc towards him. Choji used the expansion jutsu to put his hands up as shields, but that still meant he was getting stabbed repeatedly all over his hands, which were designed to be able to feel very acutely. He grit his teeth desperately against the pain. In the stands, Kakashi raised his eyebrow at Jiraiya. You taught him the Hokage's jutsu. Hiruzen was my Jonin sensei, remember? Jiraiya leant back, chuckling. I picked up a few things. You aren't worried about the message that's going to send? Kakashi didn't let up. Worried? I'm counting on it. Jiraiya. Orochimaru has already marked these two. The Toad Sage gestured to Sasuke and Hinata, who were watching the conversation warily. Your kids are good, really good. Thanks to these exams, everyone knows it, and now everyone knows whose protection Naruto is under. I'm sick of this political bullshit, Sasuke declared. Get used to it, haircut, sighed Kakashi. Public appearance, manipulation, it's gonna be your whole life sooner or later. It sounds stifling, Hinata commented. That's why it's important to have people you can trust, Jiraiya told her. As one, the two genin looked at each other, then down into the arena. Naruto's jutsu had shredded all his other shadow clones, and the shuriken themselves had dispelled after hitting their target, leaving Choji panting with numerous bleeding cuts on his palms. Naruto was feeling really guilty. Sorry, he called across. I don't want to use that anymore on you, because it's like really vicious, but I do have the chakra to do it again. Repeatedly, Choji smiled grimly. Huh, looks like you've finally grown up a little. Hey, you can apologize by buying me ramen sometime, K. It's a deal. Naruto grinned back. Choji turned to Gekko. I forfeit. The Jonin sighed. Thank God this is finally over. Naruto wins. Woo! Naruto threw his fist up into the air. He could hear his team cheering for him. At least Sasuke was cheering, but that was about as much as he could hope to get. And with that, the preliminaries are over. Gekko coughed into his fist. Sabaku no Kankuro, Sabaku no Gara, Uchiha Sasuke, Hinata HYUUGA, Nara Shikamaru, and Uzumaki Naruto. That's 6, right? Yeah, that's 6. Will progress to the final round of the Chunin exams. Yeah, in 1 month. Year what? And that concludes the second episode. If you enjoyed it, I'd seriously love it if you guys could leave a like on the video, as it genuinely helps out so much, and it keeps me going. Plus it takes only 1 second. That said, have a wonderful day. God bless.